I like to joke about the man box, which is like you can only be a man if you fulfill these certain qualities and you stay within this square of like you're in your man box and you're safe in the man box. And something about, for some men, about going near feminism is a step out of the man box.
The most important thing any white feminist can do is educate herself and listen and engage with the experiences of women of color without silencing them. Because sometimes as white ladies, we just have to shut the fuck up.
I hate Katy Perry. I hate Natalie Portman.
You're raping me! This is rape! This is rape! This is rape!
Relax.
Okay.
Relax your arms.
It's relaxed.
Stop fighting with me.
It's relaxed.
Stop fighting with me. Stop fighting.
All right? Okay. I'm not fighting.
Part of feminism is the freedom to let other women make choices you don't necessarily understand. So while you may not want to walk out with like tape, like X's on your nipples and booty shorts, that may be the strong feminist choice for another woman. And even if you can't imagine yourself in her shoes, part of your job as a feminist is just to support her.
Hi, and welcome to Last Man on Earth. My name is Lex Durgan. As always, I'm flanked by Matt Ralston. With the resignation of John Duran, am I pronouncing his name right? Yep. As mayor of West Hollywood, Matt's throwing his hat in the ring. Nobody needs an HIV-positive, man-whoring, sexual-harassing, power-bottom slut running things, reads Matt's new campaign slogan. Just, I'm all those things without the HIV part. I'm your man. Can you imagine, like, I assume every city has a horrible mayor just by default, because there just aren't really good mayors, really.
I had a conversation about it the other day. Sorry to interrupt you, but I actually didn't know what a mayor did until recently.
Well, you know what, like Eric Garcetti of L.A. does, right? I mean,
no, I don't know what he does.
You don't know what he does day to day or what powers he's imbued with.
Well, he's allowed to allocate funds, right?
No, he's not actually.
Yeah, no,
he has some discretionary.
I'm not even playing dumb. I don't know what he does.
He's like, he's sort of like what the president is supposed to be, which is like just a chief executive, and like the city council is supposed to pass all the laws and pass all the appropriate all the money. So he's more of like a chief he's more of the chief executive, like the face of the government, but the executive. Like before Congress decided the president should run everything in this country.
Right.
Congress used to be the powerful institution. The president sort of had to, if you watch the movie Lincoln, he had to go beg Congress for everything he wanted.
Watched it recently and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So like he can give speeches and he can like try to move the people, but basically he has to beg Congress for everything.
Well, that doesn't work in like Los Angeles. Like that's fine if you're in like Yosemite or something.
Well, what I'm saying is I think the city council has far more power than the mayor does.
So,
but the mayor can propose legislation, but he can't order
I don't want to get esoteric on this, but in the case of West Hollywood, and I don't know how it works in most cities. So there are 5 city council members.
Yeah.
And they have equal power. So they just rotate the title of mayor, and it really means nothing whatsoever.
Yes. Well, it's you get to go to conventions and have lots of gay sex.
Yeah.
Junkets, you get to go to Israel on like security.
Yeah, you get to try and procure super aids.
Yes.
Because
you get. I think you get a bigger discretionary account, and you get to invite to all these like travel junkets.
I like how people are like, we shouldn't stigmatize HIV, and I'm like, well, I suppose that is true, but then it becomes like, why don't you have HIV? And I'm like, what? Because I don't want to. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, you should you stigmatize?
When did it become like just a status symbol?
Shouldn't you stigmatize a deadly disease? I don't understand.
I would think so.
I don't think you need to.
Well, unless you're the pharmaceutical industry, in which case it would actually make a lot of sense to not stigmatize.
They just cured the second AIDS person this week. There's a story on that.
I read it, and it's not, the science isn't explained, and I read a few articles on it. So just because you're in remission doesn't mean that you're cured.
No, but isn't it already true? I don't know. You live in West Hollywood, so you would know. Isn't it true that most people don't die of HIV anymore?
No. Yes, that is true.
In the U.S. at least.
I'm not an expert just because I live on the outskirts of West Hollywood.
Sure, you're like on the anal periphery. But I mean, you don't people like I remember. Well, what's his name? Arquette just died last year. The trans Arquette brother died of I assume it was I think it was AIDS last year. But you don't really hear many people dying of AIDS.
I don't think you die of HIV anymore. I mean,
Right.
Magic Johnson's a good case example.
Yes, but he spent like $18 million on his remedies. Now I think it's fairly affordable, right? To like, it's not the AZT thing anymore. The cocktails is some lesser regimen you take.
I think so. I mean, I really don't want to be involved
Testing.
in that world
Yes.
where I'm like, well, yes. I mean, I take one pill and I'm not dead. Like, I'd rather just not.
But it's not a movie like
contract HIV. That's sort of my stance.
if
on
you
it.
watch in the movies now. I just watched that movie. Can You Ever Forgive Me? The one Melissa McCarthy movie, and it was set in like late '80s, I think it was.
I don't know if I know that one.
She's like the plagiarizing author.
Oh yeah, I watched it.
was
I
pretty
liked
good.
it.
Yeah, it was pretty
I
good.
thought it was a good movie.
I thought it was to me that movie was like the new female-led. They have to change everything to a female-led movie now. Like 10 years ago, that would have been Paul Giamatti in the exact same role as like the angry drunk. Gay,
Yeah, but
gay-
Melissa McCarthy's really funny.
she was fine.
But they did have to, instead of having like I would have liked a eccentric black guy as the friend, but
Yes.
of course it had to be a gay guy.
Yes,
which
but
wasn't quite relevant to the story so much.
no, although he did win the Indie Spirit Award, but the
Well, he was a good actor too.
Richard
I'm not
E.
trying
Grant.
to disparage. What's his name?
Richard E. Grant.
That
Had to
whatever.
have the E because of the SAG.
Whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, but the point is in that movie, like any movie set in that time period, when someone announces that they got the disease, then they just die in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just 100%. Like someone would say, like Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, I got the thing, I got the disease, and then everyone goes like, oh, and then like they just die, and then they die, right? It was just like 100%.
Well, wasn't that actually what kind of happened?
Yeah.
I mean, you're from San Francisco.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it was just like, I lost two of my high school English teachers died of AIDS.
Well, I did a deep dive because I have sex with a lot of sketchy women.
Yeah,
And I actually looked at the Center for Disease Control statistics.
of course you did.
Oh,
Not on the dates, I hope.
no, not on my phone while buying dinner. But you actually, it's quite difficult to contract HIV. You have to. It's not like you do it once or twice.
I think you have to. My understanding. First
I mean,
of all,
they have the statistics published.
yeah. I mean, through straight sex, for men to receive from women through straight sex is almost impossible.
Nearly impossible.
Women, I think, much far more likely to get it from gay men or men who have HIV,
Yeah, but
not still pretty low.
So I mean, we could link the report, but so if you're having sex with an HIV positive person,
Right.
when the virus is replicating, so meaning like, I don't
You're
know,
hot when you're hot.
yeah,
You're in the hot zone. When your body's in the hot zone.
You got that fever, that Miami
Yes.
diarrhea. It's basically you'd have to have sex with someone 2,500 times to get the
And doesn't it usually?
virus.
Well, that sounds like your average West Hollywood guy.
according to the CDC, by the way.
But is it? No, I believe it seems as more legit than anyone else. But also, isn't it from when you have other lesions, like cuts or lesions on your body and your
Yeah.
genitals,
Yes.
which would come from other STDs?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're just a disgusting human being.
Yeah. So if you were having sex before HIV and you had herpes, you had other things like that, and then you continued, then you had gay sex,
Yeah.
you're far more like so highly sexually active men are much more likely to get it than a random guy once.
Yeah, absolutely. So how come I was a junior in high school just getting pussy and worried about getting AIDS? It makes
don't know.
no sense whatsoever.
Well, there was a someone should write a book on this.
They
I'm
did
sure.
show us a propaganda film.
Yes, there was immense amount of propaganda in the early 90s by the gay activist groups to convince the nation that it was not a gay disease, which was, again, a very smart tactical move on their part because they knew that people go like, oh, it's killing gay people. I don't give a shit. I live in fucking Alabama. So they wanted to convince straight people that you could be next. And so they just intentionally basically falsified the information and then put a lot of money behind these commercials saying like everyone can get AIDS. And so that they raised, and then all of a sudden Congress opened the books and they started like putting more money into AIDS research.
Right.
Because there was no way like the Republicans were going to give a shit if it was like a San Francisco disease. So they had to make people like think, oh, the Michigan blue collar workers are next.
But it actually is a San Francisco disease. I
Yes,
mean,
it is.
If you look
Sure
at the
is.
stats.
Sure is. From the bathhouse. It came from the bathhouses
And needles. I mean,
and needles. But I think it started with the
by the way, if you if you were to take a needle from someone, like if you and I were just hanging out and you're like, hey, share this needle with me. You deserve to get AIDS.
I think
like,
so too.
You deserve to fucking die. Like, sorry, that sounded harsh.
I've always assumed people like that are junkies and they don't really think rationally like that, so they just grab the nearest needle they can find.
Well, then fucking get out. That maybe that's nature saying.
Well, you know what, Matt? When they open a safe injection center next to your place, so that all the. By the way, I actually like the idea of the safe injection centers. I just don't know who wants it next to their apartment or house. Like the idea that there'd be a place where like all the junkies could go to get injected with their drugs seems like a good idea, but where do you put it? Like who actually wants?
Dude, I used to hang out in Vancouver and British Columbia, and so they had those. They opened the first safe injection site, I believe, in like the Western world, and
they've had them for a little while.
Yeah, and I think. Well, no, this was a while ago.
Yeah, like 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Canada's always ahead of the U.S.
So I'd never really seen a lesion on a person, and I was like I'm just like, trying to watch a hockey game here, and like scientifically, if you broke it down, it probably is a good idea, but it's also like. I kind of feel like you're attracting a bunch of fucking junkies.
Well, it's not turning anyone into a junkie, but it's like keeping junkies from spreading disease or getting infected themselves, which by the way, you and I have to pay for. Obviously.
Well, I don't want to go Mugabe like, well, let's just lock up all the junkies. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, the only problem is like all the junkies live usually in an urban environment, some kind of urban center. So then you have to put these injection centers in like next to someone's restaurant or next to someone's apartment building.
Maybe we should just open a safe injection center like in the plateaus of Nebraska.
Yeah, but there's nobody there. Like they're not. It's like The Walking Dead. They're gonna walk out.
Draw them out. We'll get them out.
It's like these homeless. Like they want to put the homeless shelters like next to. They want to put someone right down the block here, and like everyone's like, no. I mean, we want to help the homeless, but we don't want to have homeless crowds around our houses like every night. Same thing with the pot centers, pretty much the marijuana dispensaries. Like I think it's fine, but I wouldn't want one next door to my house with my kids, like in all the fucking jonesing weed heads.
I certainly wouldn't advocate for it, but there's a huge difference between the marijuana dispensary and the safe injection.
My buddy of mine, they opened one like 3 doors down from where he lives. He's got little kids, and there's all the stoners are just hanging out around outside the place. He doesn't.
Oh yeah, it's a bunch of ne'er-do-wells.
This week's show is sponsored by all the people on social media who posted pictures of themselves with Luke Perry this week. Nothing says heartfelt memorial like a photo of yourself talking about yourself with the dead guy. Narcissism, it's cradle to grave. That's one of my biggest pet peeves when people die, is that you then have to immediately find a photo, not everyone, but people on social media, you have to find the photo of yourself with the dead celebrity to talk about what a great guy or great girl she was.
Well, someone said that Facebook is like the open mic for eulogies now.
Yes.
Which I thought was funny. I didn't think of it. But
it is like, it's just the weirdest thing. Like, I mean, I guess always at funerals, people always talk about how close they were to the dead person. That's not a new thing. But this thing where you have to then post a photo, you have to find a photo of yourself with the dead guy to show how close you two were. It's just fucking sickening.
I mean, Luke Perry, from what I've heard, he's was a nice dude,
very nice guy,
and I'm sure he's a good dude. However, I couldn't figure out. So he played a teenager on a high school show.
Yes,
but he was like in his late 30s.
No, or like late 20s, I'd say. I think they all were.
Well, I can't tell if my perception. So when I saw Luke Perry and he's 50, and he's 50, so he's a 50-year-old guy, and I was like, oh, he looks like shit. Nothing against him. I'm just saying, well, he looks older, But
because you remember him as the attractive.
Am I basing that just because he played a high school kid?
Yeah, probably.
Does he look like a normal 50-year-old guy, or was he a bit haggard?
They were all kind of attractive people, so they all, I think, aged, and they probably had plastic surgery and shit like that. I don't know the answer to the question, but one thing I did find out, his son is a professional wrestler.
I saw that too.
I love that.
I started researching it, and then I got bored and did
Tarzan the Ape Boy or some shit like that. But it was great. Like his son is
he has great hair.
Yes. He's like the ape man or monkey man or some shit like that.
Good for him, man. I mean, I don't know what league he's in.
Well, I think he's probably only like 21 or 22 yet, but He's probably
Well,
displaying.
I'll be throwing my full support behind.
No, I think it's awesome that he
What
is.
was his name? His sort of.
It's like Tarzan.
wrestling
Tarzan.
name?
He's plays like a Tarzan, like a Jungle Boy. I think it's Jungle Boy.
Jungle Boy. Yeah.
Yes, which you can only get away with now. Ironically, if you're white, you can only be Jungle Boy if you're white. You can't be Black Jungle Boy any longer. So, all the race. I was thinking about this in wrestling. All the tropes used to be so racist. You know, and you know, it was always like the guy who looked like
Explicitly
like Abdullah the Butcher, Iron Sheik, Mr. Fuji. You were like Volkov of Russia, whatever you like look. Even if you weren't from that area, if you looked like it,
Yeah.
you were had to be that racial or ethnic stereotype. You know, the shifty Japanese characters, the Samoans who are wild.
Mr. Fuji.
Mr. Fuji was sinister Japanese guy. The Kika and whatever his name, the wild Samoans were crazy Samoans who just couldn't talk and were just
It
crazy.
was equal opportunity though too. I mean, actually, I'm surprised there wasn't like a drunk Irish wrestler. Now that I think about it,
Andre the Giant, who actually wasn't, I don't think they said he was from the Swiss Alps, which was like he wasn't.
well, he was so unattractive.
Yes.
I still don't get the worship of Andre the Giant. It's like,
Yeah,
like
he was
he was a
big.
good guy. I'm like, well, he looked like a really weird looking sick man.
He was. Did you see the documentary on him? It was great.
Yeah, I didn't.
I mean, he was legitimately sick his entire life. I mean, he had that horrible gigantism thing where he was just in like constant pain throughout his
It's
entire
really
life.
the teeth is what gets me. Like, if you took like, who do you think is the most beautiful woman in the world right now?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
If you gave
She has horrible teeth.
Horrible example. I
Yes.
know you did. No, I mean, if you gave Brie Larson Andre the Giant's teeth, I'd be like, no way. Like, we are not even dating.
Well, I think there was no reason to fix his looks because he played like the Giant, so he had to look kind of trollish.
Yeah, but
part of his shtick.
who lives a lifestyle in that your teeth start decaying, your front teeth start
Yeah.
decaying? That's not a normal way to live.
It isn't. I guess when you're getting girls every night, you just kind of forgive lots of
You
things.
think Andre the Giant got a lot of girls?
That's what the documentary said. I mean,
don't-
he was paying for him, I believe, but
Oh,
I don't know. I think it's look at the island of Britain. I think it just depends where you come from. Do not forget to become a patron of the show on patreon.com/Last Man on Earth. Thanks to all of your patrons. Get on this shit now before it disappears. If you wish to contact the show, hit us up on Twitter at Last Man Podcast or on Facebook, also Last Man Podcast. All right, on to this show. Matt, you've dated a girl from Mexico.
yep, a couple of them.
I've met. This seems to be more popular now. Last year or so, I've met like a couple guys who've dated girls from Mexico, like actually born in Mexico. I guess that's an LA thing now, just because there's so many girls.
I've
from
never
Mexico.
dated a girl that was born in Mexico, but
Well, I guess
not that I would have a problem with that.
I mean, one of the upsides of immigration from Central America, in addition to cheap labor, and I'm always told cheap lettuce. I don't understand the whole cheap lettuce.
Well, you know,
idea.
Central Mexico is. There are other countries in Central America. So
Yes. Well, there are. In fact, most immigration is not from Mexico.
I would
any longer.
not date a Salvadorian girl.
No,
I'll tell you that
no.
right now.
You wouldn't date like an MS-13 chick?
Nope.
Like a ride or die MS-13 chick?
La Raza? No,
But if
absolutely.
you happen to love hot Latina chicks, there's a lot more hot Latina chicks in Southern California, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Jeff Bezos is a banging one. So they're everywhere.
Wait, his mistress is a Mexican?
She's Latina. I don't know where she's from specifically, but she's bilingual and she's Latina.
Well, is she from like Spain or?
No, she's not from Spain. She's
You got to do your research.
She is not probably first generation, but
Is she hot?
She's hot and she speaks Spanish. I know that.
All right.
That's more than Jeff Bezos could say. So Selma
enough.
Hayek can say that. So here's the thing. So we now run the course where like everybody who is not a white male has to claim oppression, obviously, and we all know that nobody's oppressed more than rich celebrities in Hollywood. Absolutely the worst, most oppressed people. One thing I've noticed in this whole intersectional woke awakening of this country is that you never actually read stories about people who are actually oppressed, like actually distressed, socioeconomically distressed minorities.
I've noticed that too.
Like it's never about the woman from. I don't know if you saw the story, but you don't follow UFC fights probably because you don't engage in male behavior, standard male behavior.
No, I have male friends though, so I'm tangentially aware of what happens.
The Tyron Woodley lost the welterweight title to this guy. I forget his name. He's got an African name, Usaina something or other. Really great fight. And actually, the guy who lost mother, she's like a single black mother.
Did you order the fight?
Yes. No, I don't pirate.
Do you watch it by yourself or with?
No,
your
I watch with the kids. I
10
make the kids
daughters?
watch it. I make the kids watch it.
You watch it with your kids?
Yeah.
All right.
I like them to see blood sport. I think it's really good for them. So, I mean, I don't want them to watch real like military. I don't want them to watch military like bloody like documentaries. But I like them to see that people actually beat each other up. And the best part is when they hug after it's over. Like it's a sport.
That I don't get. If I lost a fight, I would not be hugging the dude. With
Like boxers, they respect the warriors respecting each other. I kind of like that whole thing. Like they beat the crap out of each other, literally try to choke each other out, and then they hug and bow to each other after the fight's over.
I get it.
That's like the Asian martial arts thing, sort of the master and the student.
I'd just be real mad if I got beat. I'm just saying.
But so the mother of Tyron Woodley, he lost,
which is why I never entered the ring. Sorry, go ahead.
He felt bad. The guy who beat the champ felt kind of bad for some reason. Because he respected the champ so much, he felt bad he beat him. And the mother of the champ, who's like this heavy-set black woman, raised her kid. I think they're from Chicago. Hugged him, and there was this little teary scene, the new winner. But then her background story is like she raised this like UFC fighter by herself. She had 3 jobs. She worked overnight, like cleaning offices, and then would take the morning shift cleaning like fast food restaurants to take care of her kids on her own.
She could have just not had a kid and
she
had one
had
less job.
She had a few kids, I think. But yes, Matt, thank you, Republican Matt. But but the fact is, like, I mean, this woman like worked her fucking nails to the bone to like put food on the table, and as a say unattractive, heavyset black woman, probably did not catch a lot of breaks.
African American,
probably didn't catch a lot of breaks. But you never hear her story of complaining about intersectionality or racism, or which I'm sure she faced, and other things like that. It's always like Salma Hayek.
No, of course not. I mean, do you ever talk to a woman like that? Like, we don't often run into them, just in our day-to-day lives. But when you talk to a lady like that, they don't take themselves that seriously.
No.
There's a lot of y'all,
which
I find really charming. And she's like, like I'm just working and taking care of shit, and it is what it is. Basically, that is the attitude that I've seen.
I think I think for among most people in life, it's just a built-in expectation of like life can be pretty shitty, and so like this is just another shitty part of it. Like life is like there's sort of this like life is hard mentality.
You drove the father away.
That's for the father's way, but like I think when you work your ass that hard on a very basic goal, you kind of don't focus on all the petty shit, right? There's just no time for the petty shit.
Right, you can't. You just your circumstances are what they are, and now you're just trying. It's survival mode basically, but also like you have a barbecue and you have. I shouldn't say you, but they have friends and they laugh and it's fun.
Yes,
they have orange soda.
Yes. And, or sometimes grape soda, Matt. Don't be racist.
It's sometimes grape and pineapple, by the way.
Yeah.
In a public park with no permit, and it's fun.
Yes.
Like it's not like I feel like these fake liberals don't know these people and they don't understand.
Well, they're also not,
and they placate them.
And they're also like not. They're just downers. They're not fun people. Like they spend their lives.
Total downers.
They're total wet blankets because they just like. So, like, I think when those people having the barbecue and the orange soda, like you talked about, when they see people like that are like, married to a billionaire, worth all this money, live on a yacht, and they're complaining about racism, they're like, even if they're black or Hispanic, they're like, what?
So condescending.
It's so condescending. Like, not that they don't experience racism at the bottom end of the social. Of course they do. They experience it the most. It's just built into like their expectations.
But the ironic thing is they don't want to hang out with you.
No. So Salma Hayek says, so she has every woman who gets woman of color gets interviewed, or even any woman, white women too, in Hollywood, has to then be. And I don't know if they're bringing this topic up or the reporters are forcing them to speak on this topic.
I feel like it's probably the latter.
I think so, yeah. Are being forced to like issue. Well, there's always like power women conferences where you have to speak and give your oppression story. So literally, Salma Hayek's oppression story is that as a she was born in Mexico. As a Mexican woman, nobody thought she could be rich and successful in Hollywood, or even marry a French billionaire like she did. Like that's her that's actually literally her oppression story, and is that she's a hot chick from Mexico, and nobody thought she could make it big and be rich and successful and powerful in Hollywood because she's Mexican. Ergo racism. Like
so now in the form of empowerment because she doesn't have to worry about money like a lot of people do.
Yes.
And by the way, a lot of actresses do.
Yeah, or roles in movies, or she can make her own
So
movies.
she can just take this really indulgent stripper role in the shit. What's the Mickey Rourke movie? The Wrestler.
Oh yeah,
The
was she in
Wrestler?
that?
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
The Wrestler.
Yeah, I like that movie.
It's a great movie. So now you can just like brandish your tits all over the place and act like it's art, but I don't know. I mean, try and do that if you're not married to a rich guy.
Or try and do that if you're not hot with big breasts. I mean, I don't understand. Like,
Well,
I mean, so yeah, so like an average, like I'm waiting for some unattractive woman who gets like who makes it in Hollywood. First of all, any unattractive woman actress to make it in Hollywood is a big deal. I'm waiting for someone like that, like an actual like. I don't need to see like I. There's no way that like hot chicks with big tits from any culture or background ever suffer.
well, who's the chick that was?
Racist.
Who's the fat chick? The fat Jewish chick from New York?
Lena Dunham.
Yeah, Lena Dunham.
I knew exactly what you're talking about.
She seems to have.
Although I know a lot of fat Jewish girls from New York. I think I dated a few.
Really?
No, but yeah. So she has the oppression. The white female oppression is sort of is hurting right now. But so somehow, like, okay, so like I'm Latina, and I guess in Hollywood, you know. Remember the old Robert Townsend movie, The Hollywood Shuffle?
No.
You never saw that? It was in the 80s. You love 80s movies. But when Robert Townsend got just big enough as a black comedian actor to like make a movie making fun of Hollywood, he made a movie about a black guy who comes to Hollywood, and they only give him roles as pimps and like criminals.
I'll have to watch it.
It's really funny. It's just about how racist Hollywood is.
I don't even know the actors, so they just cycle through black guys.
Yeah, he was like a
Robert
young
Townsend.
He was like a comedian in his 20s. He was like who would I compare him to? Like he was like say the Martin Lawrence of the 80s.
Was he the random black guy in Die Hard? Because I haven't quite figured out.
No,
who
he
that
wasn't.
guy was.
No, different guy. But Hollywood Shuffle was about how minorities are treated in Hollywood.
No, this is like a commentary on the actual industry.
Yes.
So they got him out of there.
And they played
right away.
They played, but it was like every role he went for. Like, okay, you'll be trying out for the pimp. He's like, what? Not pimp again? Like, and he would like he wasn't black enough as a pimp, so the white guys would teach him how to act like a black pimp. Like, hey, motherfucker, like, I'm gonna cut you. Like, you know, he was like a black drama student.
This guy sounds awesome. I bet you he lives in the neighborhood. We should totally hang out with him.
Probably does. There's literally, so there is obviously racism in Hollywood, but like, let's face it, like hot chicks with big tits don't face an uphill battle in any industry.
Did you see? Because I love Alexander Payne. I love all his movies.
Yes.
I love Nebraska. I loved Election. Even the abortion one was pretty good. But did you see Downsizing?
No, I haven't seen it yet. It was good.
No, it's
With Matt Damon, right?
Yeah, it's Matt Damon. Like it's I didn't care for it. Maybe some people like it, but so there's a very prominent Asian character, and so because I listened to Terry Gross on NPR.
Of course you do.
You don't like Terry Gross?
I watch UFC, Matt. You do Terry Gross.
Dude, Terry Gross is fantastic. So anyway, the actress was like, "Well, I don't have a problem doing like a stereotypical Asian accent," and but a lot of actresses turn it down. And I was like, "Bullshit."
No, they don't.
Of course not. And why would you? You're not a named actress. Like, by the way, I would do any accent right now. If you told me to talk like fucking Vladimir Putin, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
To take the job? Yeah. Nobody turns down the misnomer is that anyone ever turns down jobs in Hollywood.
Well, I didn't care for the fact that she was lying.
Right.
That's the whole point. Sorry. It's not a good movie, though. It really... His whole catalog is great, but that film is...
He has hits or misses. He has hits or misses. The one where...
I didn't think there were too many misses.
I kind of like the one where...
Sideways? Sideways is great.
Good one. He did the one where Jack Nicholson and Kathy Bates, where Kathy Bates is naked.
I loved it.
Yes.
Except for the part where her boobs were floating.
Yes.
And Kathy Bates obviously signed off on that, and Kathy Bates is great, but I could have done without that.
I don't like the gross.
When the hot tub jets started,
grotesque.
and then her boobs like floated to the top as if they were like your swim shorts.
the new counter to like all the beautiful people. The counter to that in Hollywood is like showing ugly naked people, like in movies now.
Well, he was he was in front of that at least.
Yeah, but I mean, it was like, have you seen you watch the show Deuce on HBO?
No.
It's about the Times Square in the early 70s in New York, the prostitution and everything.
I watched part of it. I found it preachy, and I didn't
It's just
like
so many fat naked guys, like
Jake Gyllenhaal's stupid sister.
with the intentionally floppy tits.
You know, they're from a what do you call it? An elite family.
Yeah, they're from the mom was a talent agent or casting agent.
Oh no, but before that,
really,
they had a lot of filthy money.
Oh, really?
In Scandinavia.
Oh, that we got that far back.
Oh yeah.
Because they're from an industry family. The mom, I think, is a big casting agent in Hollywood. Or
well, you
television.
become a casting agent if you have a lot of filthy money. A lot of times.
Yes. I thought you just had to be a bitchy woman.
No.
That's part of it.
I mean, I wish we had Google right now, but they actually probably had some Nazi money.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't find that nearly offensive as their floppy tits. Like
I agree.
She is one of those actors, again, to find empowerment, actually goes topless a ton and has just these horrible floppy breasts.
Well, what do you do about that, though? I mean, because like you and I, you're in good shape.
I'm in excellent shape.
Well, you're not. No, you're not.
I'll tell you what.
Shape.
I'm in better shape than Luke Perry.
You're in good. I feel like we both kind of take care of our bodies. I don't know what you do if you just had these pancake boobies.
Well, one thing you could do is not intentionally make yourself topless in every single movie role you take.
That's a good point.
She produces The Deuce. I mean, she actually produces the show. She's topless in every single episode. So she's trying to show off the fact that her body is like badly worn.
So
that's part of her character.
So what is your worst sort of trait physically if you had to accentuate that? Like,
I would never go naked.
I have a mole on my butt.
I wouldn't. Yeah, oh God,
I
we gotta move on.
Well, no, I'm saying, but
they were, if you had a disfigurement, generally in the old days they would cover it up on the camera. It's like they used to cover up tattoo. Do you remember the show Lost? You remember the show Lost on ABC? Like
I know
10
of
years
it.
ago?
I didn't watch it.
There's a guy who, the actor, one of the lead actors in the show, had like a full upper sleeve tattoos. And so for the first 2 seasons, they're stranded on an island, right, for 5 years. In the first 2 seasons, they took painstakingly covered up the sleeve on his arm, the tattoo sleeve on his arm for every episode. And then, like in the third season, he just had they just gave up. He had a full sleeve tattoo. I'm like, well, you've been on the island. Like, when did you get?
I never watched the show. I feel like they gave up, like in general.
Yes,
because like I didn't watch it, but people were like, well, no, like there's a world underneath the world, and it's like, dude, this sounds like really bad writing. I just got to tell you,
the first 2 seasons were actually remarkably good. Then you're right. I gave up when there was like an earthquake, and there actually was just a guy with a handheld camera shaking the camera. And the people were pretending there was an earthquake. That really bothered me.
I kind of gave up when I was sitting at happy hour next to like this really fat guy, and they were like, "Oh, that guy is like the lead guy on Lost," and I was like, "Well,
yeah, what happened to that guy? He's probably dead."
I don't know. He's the
Hispanic fat guy. Yeah, he was big, and actually he was really he got a few roles out of that. All right, we got to move on.
Sounds like you love Lost, by the way.
The first 2 seasons I really loved, and Evangeline Lilly was in it too. Really, really hot. Matt, Captain Marvel's coming out. I'm going to see Captain Marvel tonight. And it's not a movie, Matt. It's a female progressive high school empowerment assembly, from what I can tell, because every single review of the movie that I've read, I think it's 83% of Rotten Tomatoes, but that's a bump. Let's call it a 50 with a 33 bump for being a female lead empowerment film.
Well, you don't know that. It could just be...
No, all the critics...
No, obviously you know that.
All the critics that I respect, like 4 or 5 that I like, all said it was a mid-lean Marvel movie, a mid-lean standard Marvel movie.
You actually follow critics?
No, but when I read Rotten Tomatoes, I look for certain critics that I know are like on the.
Who are your main crits?
I like the Rolling Stone guy. I like the SF Chronicle guy. I like not Roper, the other guy. I like the RogerEbert.com guy. He's not Roger Ebert anymore because he's dead. There's a few I look.
Isn't that Roper?
No, it's RogerEbert.com, whatever his name is. But there's a few I look for where like I kind of think they're like actually giving legit.
But do you base your movie going
not at all.
I wouldn't experience on this, or are you just curious about what these assholes say?
Base my streaming on it. Like I won't. The only time I go to movies when I take the kids, so they have to see Captain Marvel. So we're going to Captain Marvel. If it got a 20, we'd still be seeing Captain Marvel.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So if I said to you, because we chat on Skype, So would it mean more to you if I said, Lex, you should see this film? Would it mean more to you than Roper?
Yeah. Well, if you told me the downsizing wasn't very good, I'll skip it.
It's not good.
But it also didn't get very good review. If it got like a 98% of Rotten Tomatoes and you told me you didn't like it, I'd probably still watch it.
But what about a film that got bad reviews that I said was great?
I would, I'd watch it on Netflix or HBO or something like that.
Edge of 17 is a really good film.
I loved Edge of 17. I saw it.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, I loved it.
It's funny, right?
Yes. I like that Woody Harrelson is racking up really good roles, small roles in movies.
I love Harrelson.
Yes.
Like any movie with Harrelson, I'm on board with.
Yeah. He's actually, the fact that he's now taking smaller roles, he wasn't good as a lead. He's taking smaller roles that fit him better. It's really been a nice second stage of his career.
I'll take him as a lead, but also
White Man Can't Jump.
Steinfeld.
Yes.
Oh, White Man Can't Jump is a great film. So I didn't know how to feel about it because she's playing 17, but she's 25.
Is she? Okay, well, yeah.
And the whole time I was like, I totally kind of want to bang.
That's okay. You know who her uncle is. I don't know if you know Jake Steinfeld. Bodied by Jake. The bodybuilder guy from like the 90s.
Are you kidding me?
You don't know him. So here's the thing about Captain Marvel. So like, it's a female lead, obviously, Brie Larson, who's going around talking about how this is like they did this. This is the same playbook, by the way, they did with Wonder Woman when it came out 2 years ago. Although that was a female-directed, female-led movie.
It's not quite. It's more annoying right now.
It's more annoying because it's been done. The whole Wonder Woman thing, where like women were basing their feelings about themselves off the Wonder Woman, off I guess that's DC, off the DC movie.
Well, what is your question? Because I have a real strong opinion on this Brie Larson thing.
My question is, when did journalists decide that like the social impact of a movie, such as it may be, giving an opportunity to a hot blonde chick to finally star in a movie? When did it be okay to like bump up your reviews or your discard your journalistic integrity to tell people like, oh, the movie itself may not be so good, but you should see it because it's really inspiring. It's a chance for women to feel inspired and empowered.
Well, I never knew this until are we friends? Until we became...
We're Skype buddies.
Yeah, No, you informed me on a lot of shit. I didn't know that if you just said this is dumb, you would not get access, and then you don't get free hotels, free flights. Well,
that's the second. That's like the third tier reviewers, but I'm talking about like significant like Hollywood Reporter reviewers.
Well, okay, so
I mean they're not going to get access to it.
So in what publication? Because I guarantee you, I can trace it back to 3 or 4 media conglomerates.
Well, but because they give like a Kevin Hart movie comes out from those same studios and they give it a shitty review, right?
Not really.
Really? Like his comedies, they all get low ratings.
Okay, yeah, but that's low hanging fruit,
right?
Like, yeah, you can give a Kevin Hart movie a shit review, but I mean, if you look at, so let's say, for example, just hypothetically, the New York Times or the Washington Post, right?
Okay.
So you're going to give that movie a good review or an okay review. And it's very easy to trace it to the fact that it's the same media company, that it's Amazon, and that is therefore now Time Warner. And
so you think it's a financial conspiracy?
I don't think it's a conspiracy. I just think that
a financial motive?
Sort of what, yeah, just kind of what I've learned from you is that it's not a conspiracy, but it's synergy. I mean, it's just.
But I don't think it's more
motivated. Like you will get fired if you don't toe the line.
Oh yeah, but I think it's more the political line than the financial. I mean, it's not that they want the movie to do well. Captain Marvel's going to make a shitload of money regardless. So remember when they talked about like, but
you can't be a shill if you just do this one thing. I mean, you have to generally go along with stuff.
I think if Brie Larson and the studio are pushing the fact, like they did with Wonder Woman, that this is a inspiring movie for women, the first female-led Marvel movie, that if you're the critic who goes like, this movie sucked, then you're going to be accused of being a sexist.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I wrote a thing about it because I was bored, I guess, about Ocean's 8.
Yes.
And
same idea.
And so the critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes said, I'm going to paraphrase, while not as slick as the other Ocean's movies, which, by the way, weren't even that good.
No, modestly good. Fun watch.
Fun to watch.
Yeah.
This was not fun to watch. So, while not as slick, at least it's a good effort.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck kind of critical review is that? And so I would never pay for that movie, but I saw it on, I think it's either on Amazon or Netflix. Either way, I streamed it for free.
Yeah. HBO. I think it's on HBO.
Or HBO, probably that too. Someone gave me their login. So I watched the first 40 minutes and I was like, this is not a fun movie. And it's fun to watch Brad Pitt and Clooney like kind of hobnob it. But I was watching this film and they were trying to do that, and it's not a gender thing. It was simply a poorly directed, phoned in horseshit type of movie.
I think people believed it was not a very good movie, and it was just empowering because it was the same thing with the female Ghostbusters. It was just a lesser version of the previous Ghostbusters, not because it had women in it. Those are all the actors are amazingly talented. It wasn't the lack of talent. It was, I like them all. Melissa McCarthy. I mean, people can do better stuff with better material. But they didn't give him good material.
Well, So I was thinking it's either Ocean's 11. It's Ocean's 11. The remake, obviously, the one that came out more recently.
Clooney.
Don Cheadle, for no reason. Don Cheadle's a great actor.
Yes.
And for no apparent reason, he's British. So it's just like he's bored.
Yes.
And he's like, I want to be British. And they're like, okay, do that. Like, that's cool. What is God damn it. Who's the super goth guy that directed Edward Scissorhands?
Tim Burton.
So Tim Burton's wife, what's her name?
The crazy British chick?
Yeah, the British woman.
I forget her name. With the crazy hair, who rides like a bicycle everywhere.
Yeah, so she's obviously weird. And she's like, I'm going to be Irish in this movie. And it's like, all right. I don't know why, and I don't know if I'm biased. If it's just rather that I would rather hang out with Don Cheadle than the chick from Fight Club. But it was just poorly directed. It all seemed very sort of self-indulgent, and I cut it off after 50 minutes because they didn't get to the fucking heist.
Did you see the review of Captain Marvel in Slate.com?
No.
It was female reviewer, of course, because only females are allowed to review female-led movies. She literally wrote that the movie was mediocre, but that's a great thing for women. This is her hypothesis. It's great that it was mediocre because it shows that a mediocre movie led by a woman can be very successful. Like what? Like,
well, you're not a fucking activist, by the way. Like, let's get your job straight. Isn't your job to review movies?
I don't understand.
Objectively?
No, they're not. Here's the thing. Like, so there's that moment when they bring out like the Down syndrome girl who wins like prom queen, and like everybody applauds, or they give the kid with whatever illness, like on the football team, they let him run for a touchdown, and everybody stands aside, the defensive lineman let the kid run for a touchdown. And those are wonderful, charitable moments, right? That's when everyone feels good about themselves as human beings. But we all understand that's a charitable moment, right?
That all makes my heart ache. But yes, I understand what you're saying.
But that's a moment where, like, we all agreed, like, we're going to do this for the betterment of ourselves. But that's not what a movie critic is supposed to do. There's like either it's a charitable review or it's an honest review. It can't be both. You can't be like, here's an honest review with a bit of a nice charity push for the ladies. Like, you can't be a journalist and give.
Well, no, because there's
a bump to the ladies.
Yeah, you will just never feel as good if you know that you're getting a push, as opposed to, this is something that I'm proud of, that I worked for.
But Brie Larson will tell you she doesn't care what men think about the movie. She doesn't make her art for men.
So
she makes her art for black women.
Brie, as if she has any black friends.
Right.
So Brie Larson, what was the film where she played the human trafficked or
a room?
Room.
Yeah.
It was okay. It was a pretty good film, and she did a good job. So then she sort of by default became like the voice of human trafficking,
yes.
Which I thought was weird. And so Tom Hanks because everyone loves Tom Hanks.
Most beloved guy in Hollywood.
Oh, and most beloved guy maybe in the history of the world.
The Jimmy Stewart of modern day,
Yes.
as they call him. Yes.
Yeah, it's obviously
The every man.
really good guy. If you talk shit about him, I might fight you.
Yeah.
So he was in the World War II movie that Spielberg directed.
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan. So all of a sudden he became like the voice for veterans.
Yes.
Which I thought was weird, but at least, he means
Good
well.
cause, yeah.
And the thing is, Tom Hanks didn't think that he was in the war.
No. No.
Brie Larson is now somehow internalizing the fact that she played a character into the fact that she's like fucking Harriet Tubman or something. It's utterly ridiculous.
It's a bizarre. First of all, everyone has to understand that, like,
she's horrible.
Everyone went to high school, so everyone knows what drama kids are like, right? They don't. Everyone remembers what the drama club was like. I know it was like at your high school or at my high school. I know what it was like. Or most high schools.
They were cool in my high school.
Really? It was like the beginning of Brie Larson's in my high school. Like the beginnings of very self-involved, very self-important people who couldn't play sports. That was basically.
Right.
Like, well, most of the guys were gay, I suppose, and then the women were sort of like.
Well, take that and give the random asshole nice boobies. And
yes.
Now she's really full of herself,
and she wins an awards, and so now she gets a podium to speak. But now you can't speak about the plight of white people, which you are. So now, even as a woman, you can talk about sexism in Hollywood, like Selma Hayek did. But that's not enough anymore. Now you have to present yourself somehow. You're a woman of color because you're a woman, and therefore you make movies for women of color, even though you're a hot blonde chick, and that's why you got the job. I don't just like, and then people like the worst part is that the audience just goes, yeah, like the ladies in the audience, yeah, like okay, that like completely bullshit logical argument. Yeah, let's go with that. Like Brie Larson.
It pisses me off, and honestly, it would piss me off less if I just thought that Brie Larson was like a strategic sort of pandering type of person.
Right.
But I'm quite sure that she has convinced herself that she's like a hero because she's doing a really shitty Marvel film.
Yes. Remember that? Who was that woman? Who was the actress? When they had the who was warning her domestic staff, she wasn't going to let her domestic household help walk home by themselves because they heard there was an ice raid going on.
I remember that.
So she took her domestic help home in her Range Rover, and she was warning people like the rich ladies in Hollywood, like don't let your domestic help take the bus today.
It was Jessica Biel that was eating a sausage in the shower.
That was her,
which no one's ever done, by the way.
But it was literally like the rich white celebrity telling like the other rich white celebrity ladies, don't let your Mexican helpers like walk today. Drive them home in your Range Rover because they're going to get picked up by ICE. Like
it's all so fucked.
You cannot be a hot blonde chick and complain about like being put down by the man. If there's one group that has excelled in Hollywood through any amount of racism, sex, and what have you, it's hot blonde chicks have never suffered in Hollywood.
No, you can't. You shouldn't have anything to complain about. But I get if you're sort of a malcontent, it's fun. Then, you have sex with guys like me and it's like whatever. But in general, people that take themselves seriously,
yes, it's
a really horrible trait.
Yes. No, they're miserable. They intentionally make themselves miserable. So we talked about the black woman at your racist barbecue earlier, and
I wasn't there.
the orange soda barbecue. I don't think the great part about people like that, and I've been in those circles, is they don't take themselves seriously.
Exactly.
Absolutely do not, and they have so much more fun. They laugh so much harder, enjoy themselves so much more in their off time.
Why is this super fucking? I'm almost assuming she has a trust fund, but I don't know that.
Well, she got a lot of money now, either way.
Why are you angry?
I don't know. I think I mentioned to you, like, if Gabori Sidibe, that obese black chick from the movie where she gets her ass beat, abused.
It was a horrible movie.
Yes, Mercy or whatever it's called.
Journeys.
Yeah, whatever. Where she gets beat up, I think Mariah Carey beats her up. Mariah Carey's a good one. Precious. Like hits her with a fucking frying pan, right?
Gaverni Verbisi.
Yeah, she's like, here,
Giovanni.
ugly fat chick. I'm gonna hit you with a frying pan. Like if that chick like was Captain Marvel, she'd have a story to tell. Like that would be a triumphant story. Like fat, unattractive minority chick is the new Marvel superhero. That would be a story, right? Not hot blonde chick with perfect body gets cast in Marvel movie. That's not a fucking story.
Perfect tits, great boobs.
Yes.
But so are you not aware? Like, because I feel like even going up from high school to college to present day, you see a chick with really nice boobs, right? And I don't know if she's aware that there's a bunch of dumb asshole guys that are just grinning at her.
Oh, I think she's perfectly aware of that.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Brie Larson will. And Brie Larson, by the way, can act. If she saw her in Room, she can act. It's not like she has no talent.
No, she's a good actress.
But the reason she was cast in this role is because she doesn't look like Gabor Sidibe. If she looked like Gabor Sidibe, she would not have gotten this role. So she earned this role in part, in good measure, because of her superficial characteristics.
She's like a female.
The very thing she's
Ben
complaining
Affleck.
about. Yeah, Affleck definitely.
It's not a great analogy.
No,
sorry.
maybe the female Matt Damon. She definitely Ben Affleck just can't act at all. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, no, she's a more talented. She's a female Leo DiCaprio.
I don't know how people decide. Like, so after Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon, who can act, and they just assumed Ben Affleck because they were companions on the film, that Ben Affleck was an equally good actor. I don't know why, but he just got into movies and he's absolutely horrible in every movie he plays. He just can't act.
I never figured that out because he's a horrible actor.
Horrible.
Matt Damon, really good actor.
Yes.
But I'm watching the movie, which I don't think is good. I mean, we could probably do an hour on that, but so like Ben Affleck is like the aloof asshole friend of,
yes,
of
the
smart guy.
The South, yeah.
Which I feel like was probably the actual dynamic in,
probably.
in real life.
Probably. Matt Damon was a smarter, more talented guy, and Affleck was riding his coattails.
They gave Affleck the scene where he's like, "Well, I'm gonna bribe the CIA," and so it's like, "So how much money you got on you?" And I'm like, "Well, this really doesn't make any sense." By the way, that movie's retarded. So if you're into like theoretical mathematics, there's no way that Will could be smarter than the professor.
Yeah.
Because it's all esoteric. So it's not like you're right or wrong. So he's like, "See, I'm burning these equations. I'm so much smarter than you." Like, no, the fucking professor would just be like, "No, eat a dick. I'm way smarter than you. Like, you can leave now."
I always fast forward.
It's not like there's a wrong or right to these.
I always fast forward through movie scenes where they write proofs on the chalkboard. I just
yeah, it's bad.
I don't like that. Brie Larson. So I'm going to see Captain Marvel, and I have to give it an inspirational. So it says like one of the reviews actually said, well, beyond Slate, which said it's a triumph because it's mediocre. Another one said it's inspirational for girls. I'm like, well, what if you're not a girl? Like, should you still?
Well, Ocean's 8 said even though this isn't a very good movie, it's still a good movie. You should see it.
I don't understand that. Like, just say, can't you just say it's not a very good movie? But
I have a press pass, dude. I don't even give a shit. I don't make money either way. Can't I just show up and be like, "Yeah, this movie actually sucks. I'm out."
The whole thing to me is being promoted and reviewed like it's a traveling. Do you ever have those high school assemblies where inspirational speakers came?
Yeah, usually they have a palsy or something.
Yes, that's what this is like. They're reviewing this as if it's like a high school inspiring high school assembly where like no matter how bad it is, you're going to say it was inspiring and good for the kids. Because it generally sort of is. But this is not. This is
that's fine, but we're fucking 30 years old.
And by the way, this is not like Moonlight, where it's a movie about a poor black guy with AIDS. This is a Marvel movie. It doesn't need a bump. It doesn't need like a handicap push from you to give it a bump. Like, oh, no one will see this important movie if I don't give it a good review. It's not some small important film that's not so good, but maybe it sends a message that you feel is vital to the world. This is just a Marvel movie that happens to have a female lead. And, of course, she's going to make some anti-sexist comments.
And the character, by the way, is fairly dubious. So they exhausted all of the possible characters, right? So
yes.
What is it, Captain Marvel? Is that what her name is?
She's a Air Force captain who gained superpowers.
Yes, so when I used to sort of casually read comics, that's when I would throw in the garbage.
You know, like chick comic. You know, like I have no problem with that. I just don't. Just give the honest review. You're a journalist. Just give an honest review. And if you want to add a PS at the bottom, like, even though I said this isn't bad, if you have a 9-year-old daughter, she might like this movie.
No, fuck that. I mean, I agree with you. Sorry, I am agreeing with you. But why should you have to do that? Why don't you say, hey, this movie sucks, and I my job is giving my opinion on things.
Because then you feel like you're betraying your newsroom and your social bubble and your employers.
Well, then you're betraying your own species, and you're a fucking loser.
I concur. Matt, speaking of men that you admired a ton, Michael Jackson. you were. Gotta really wish Governor Northam would have done the moonwalking during that conference.
That
would have been so amazing. I think about
the fact that he actually
was prepared to do it. Yeah,
he tried it, and his wife said, "Didn't she just say no,
not appropriate?" No. She said not appropriate.
Like he was geared to start doing the moonwalk,
which almost made me love him. Actually,
no, I had no opinion of him before or after, but I was like,
It's such a
wish
dumb
he would
guy.
have done it.
It's such a typical dumb guy move. That it would have made him actually relatable if he had done it, racist as it might have been.
He should have overrode his wife and done it.
He should have pulled out like some shoe polish and put on blackface and just done it.
Yeah. I'd be on Twitter like, I support this guy.
Yes. So did you see, did you watch any of Return to Neverland?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
It's fucking
hard to watch.
Frightening. First of all, it's frightening.
I watched it over the course of like
Did you believe the guy?
days.
Did you believe the accusers?
Well, of course. Who wouldn't believe?
Well,
what do you think is in it for them?
Well, there's been money. I mean, there are active lawsuits going on against the estate.
You cannot train someone to act that way.
So you think they're different than Jussie Smollett in their on TV presence?
I think that
Smollett was pretty good,
dude. If you're going to defend Michael Jackson. I don't mean you, but in general.
His fans.
I've seen
swarming on social media.
So, do you think these guys just perfected this act, and that Michael Jackson is the one guy, the one adult male in the history of the world that likes to sleep with boys in the same bed and doesn't want to start diddling their buttholes? Do you really think that's the case?
No, of course it's not.
Or do you think that maybe your weird fandom of Michael Jackson, which I don't even get, by the way, is probably informing your opinion on this?
I would say no. I would say for all the large ladies who represent his fan base, that was my question. Like, how far will these fans go to like deny reality? Now, I will say this: there was a full trial. Was that 10 years ago or so? And he was not found guilty. I mean, he was found innocent or not enough proof for the civil case. So there was an actual trial with these same guys testifying, and the jury did not, come back with a guilty verdict or a criminal civil verdict.
Did you watch the whole thing? Because
no, I didn't watch the whole thing. I could get through the child rape.
It was.
I was like, watch some more. Give me some pretzels and watch some more child.
I felt like giving myself like just a black power fist for powering through it, but. They do go into graphic detail, but the two guys that were profiled, they said that it is a victim mentality. So you're expecting a teenage kid to testify, and they've been through a lot of trauma. So
I don't doubt that's radically sexually assaulted
to
testify the truth
at the time.
Yes.
And now they're sort of becoming more mature, and they're like, well. This did happen.
I agree with that. I think there should be I agree with both sides. One is that it may take 20 years for someone to realize what happened, but at the same time, it's also hard to prosecute somebody on 20-year-old crimes just because of the time lapse. It's kind of fucked up, but the time lapse is, they want to do this. They're trying to do away with the statute of limitations on child rape cases. But the problem is, if you bring a 30-year-old case, just like the fucking Kavanaugh shit he wrote in his yearbook in the 80s or whatever, it's so far removed that it's really hard to get, even from honest people, to get an honest interpretation out of them from the stuff that happened so long ago. So at some point, you got to tell, you got to let the guy go. I mean, you just have to say it's been 20 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's dead. And
well, now they can't get him anyhow.
And, his fucking shit-ass fucking nephews they all have opinions on it. It's like, oh, I wonder why that's... is it because you don't want to lose the money and not work ever and do whatever the fuck you're doing?
But Corey Feldman said Michael Jackson never raped him.
Okay, well that exonerates Michael Jackson. He didn't fuck one kid.
Yes.
Great.
Do you know my theory on the whole Corey Feldman, Michael Jackson, Corey Feldman, is actually prejudice to assume that pedophiles like ugly kids. like Corey Feldman was a very unattractive child.
Was he?
Yeah, he's just an unattractive guy. I mean, these other two kids look more like they could have been like, male little kid commercial kids.
They were more twinky
yes,
kids.
Yes.
God, I can't believe can we edit that out?
Like, why would you assume that like a pedophile would equally like ugly and pretty kids the same? Like, it's sort of like prejudice against pedophiles to assume they have no taste in children.
No, it's a good point. I mean, I have sex with a lot of strange women, but it's not like just because I didn't fuck your secretary, that doesn't mean that I'm not fucking the next chick.
Well, I mean, it's you're assuming that someone with a weird or even criminal compulsion doesn't also have taste in their sex partners.
Well, so just to play devil's advocate, wouldn't the Macaulay Culkin thing fly in the face of that? Because apparently, and I don't know if Macaulay Culkin is even telling the truth. I would assume he is.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Although I think he seems like he has a lot of damage, a lot of trauma.
Oh, for fucking, you mean, yeah, he was on drugs for like 10 years. 15.
Yeah, he was doing a lot of smack. But, Macaulay Culkin said, Michael Jackson, we just hung out in hotels. He didn't fuck me.
Yeah, but rapists, serial killers, predators, they always pick on the weakest.
Of course. That's why they targeted the horrible parents.
The horrible parents of these horrible kids who needed money or whatever they wanted from Michael Jackson to get free trips.
Michael Jackson ain't stupid.
No, I mean, think about it, Michael Jackson probably crossed paths with, I don't know, 10,000 kids in his lifetime.
Easily.
He maybe raped 10 and 15 of them, right? He didn't. It's not like a rapist.
I mean, conservatively, sure.
It's not like, I mean, think about a rapist. Okay, so an actual rapist, a guy who jumps out of alleyways and assaults women.
Right.
He passes thousands of women in his weekly routine.
Yeah, I mean,
he rapes one.
Think about a long haul trucker that kills women as a serial killer. He's not targeting Hillary Clinton.
No.
Right?
And he's also not killing every single woman he meets. He's meeting like 500 women, crossing paths with everyone for everyone he selects as his victim.
Right. So if you're going to come out and say, well, I hung out with Ted Bundy and he actually bought me a drink. It's
yes.
Like, okay, well, anecdotally, you're a fucking moron if you're going to claim innocence on that.
Yeah, or like he helped at our charity fundraiser. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and then
Sure.
he went home and killed a woman. like,
right.
They're not like
you're missing half the story.
Yeah, the serial predators are not like spree killers. They're not like uncontrollably violent killers.
Well, how come Culkin doesn't realize this?
I just think people are probably. And by the way, Michael Jackson was probably really kind to these kids, like to Culkin and Feldman. He was probably really good to them.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
He fucking had a ranch with llamas, dude. He had llamas.
I sent a message.
Giraffe. He had giraffes and monkeys.
You know that you can direct message people on Instagram. So I sent Paris Jackson a message. That
Did she get back to you?
Yeah, she did.
Did she really?
Yeah, she said, fuck off.
Oh, yeah.
But I said, maybe you should consider giving your trust and your inheritance to the victims of sexual abuse.
Oh, interesting.
Which I thought was a pretty good, a good talking point.
Although I would say, first of all, obviously not her. She didn't do anything wrong, first off. And second off,
she's living off the money of a guy that raped kids.
Yes, although he did not make money off it. It wasn't like he made money off raping kids.
No, that wasn't his. He didn't have a fucking Pornhub
That's
channel.
what I'm saying. Like he wasn't like a sex trafficker, like stealing little kids for sex sale.
Well, I never.
He made his money off his music.
So this is probably something you could help me out with because, so I was born in 1982 and I grew up in Alaska, so I was a little bit behind the times. So I recognize that Michael Jackson was good at dancing and singing at the same time, which is not to be overlooked. Like that is a really good skill.
He was what you call an entertainer.
Similar to playing guitar and harmonica at the same time.
Yes.
It's not easy. However, when you're a pop star, a lot of your image is the way you look, right?
Yes.
So when he became really scary looking,
yes,
I was like 11 and I was like, I don't understand why this really freakish looking man is like a pop star, because Elvis,
You mean when his nose fell off?
for example, like Elvis was like attractive, he's
Classic male model looking guy.
attractive guy. Whitney Houston. I'm sure there are other examples. Usually, they're attractive people that can sing.
Well, because
In
you
this
didn't
case-
know old Michael Jackson. You only knew freaky Michael Jackson.
I only knew the freaky Michael
Because
Jackson.
he was an adorable kid. He was an adorable looking kid when they started out. He was a kid. He was a kid singer with the Jackson 5. He was like 9.
Okay.
And he was fucking adorable.
Well, if Johnny Cash turned into like a charcoaled, like
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying when he was already, by the time he became freaky Michael Jackson, he was already super fucking famous. So like he didn't become famous because he became famous when he was still an
well,
attractive.
I get that, and he was a good looking guy when he was the way he was born. I just didn't get coming up into the sort of, late 90s, late 80s to early 90s. I didn't understand what was happening
When he so people get very upset when you say he bleached his skin, which he did bleach his skin. He did have that skin disease where you got like blotchy.
Litivigo.
Where people get blotchy, black people get blotchy white patches on their skin.
Yeah.
But he did have bleached the rest of his skin, and also, by the way, he had 12 plastic surgeries on his face.
Well, I wouldn't even mind, because honestly, like you've seen people that get the white patches. I wouldn't even judge someone for sort of evening it out, really.
No, but he went stark white. Clearly,
He became whiter than I am.
Yes,
I took a photo with 4 friends who were all white, and I was way whiter than all of them.
Yeah.
And he was whiter than I would have been.
and he had plastic surgery on his nose, his cheeks, his other body parts, his face. So it was kind of weird. Like that was not related to
his chin.
His chin.
The chin part is sort of under discussed.
His nose actually fell off. He was wearing it like
his nose fell off.
prosthetic nose. And that was, again, none of that was related to the skin condition. It was related to the fact that he had too many plastic surgeries. So
Right.
he was modifying his face out of for personal reasons.
Like, I get if you're a little bit crazy. It's like,
it's very crazy.
yeah, you're a little bit dangerous.
Now
but
imagine that guy fucking fondling you in bed when you're like 8 years old.
how does your nose... By the way, how is that doctor not disbarred? They kept operating until his nose fell off, and then he
Kept
had to
paying,
wear
dude.
a surgical mask
Kept paying, dude.
because he didn't have a nose.
Yeah.
He had no nose.
Well, I mean, I guess he was karmically died the same way because he died having a fucking Bahamian doctor giving him propofol at his house. Like,
Did that guy go to jail, by the way?
he did actually go to jail for a short period of time.
Good.
But the doctor was actually texting chicks on his phone, like sexting chicks, and forgot to pay attention to Michael
I'm
Jackson.
pretty sure when Michael Jackson passed away that his I thought he was Haitian. What was it?
An island doctor.
He went to take a shit, and
Yeah.
then he came back, and Jacko was just.
I think he was talking to girls. Was the story I heard? He was talking to girls. Either way, he wasn't paying attention to his patient, who didn't then fucking grabbed like fucking liquid propofol and just fucking chugged.
Well,
it or
I've
some
never
shit.
even been into a sedated situation, but from what I understand, like even at the dentist,
Yeah.
I think propofol is like, this is if you're having major, like we're gonna pry your rib cage open.
Oh, it's the countdown from 5, 4, 3. You're out in 4 seconds. You're completely dead in 4 seconds. You're like, depending on how much they give you, you're completely unconscious.
So how do you, if that's what you do on a normal basis, and I'm honestly curious, I don't know, because like occasionally I have problems sleeping.
It'd be like taking 10 sleeping pills.
So I'll take a couple Benadryls.
Yeah. Imagine taking 10.
Well, do you wake up like rested, or do you just wake up like psychotic?
No, you wake up. They bring you back slowly, and they give you some other medication to bring you back. So you actually wake up feeling fine. I mean, if they fine tune it, they fine tune it, right? Like an anesthesiologist will fine tune it, so they only give you enough to keep you under, and then bring you out. So they're not like.
I've known a few anesthesiologists, dude. I think they're like, dude, it's all fucking good.
It's like if you I don't know if you've ever smoked or vaped like modern weed, but like how strong it is compared to like old weed.
Right.
And so like, we're used to like smoke a joint or something like that. Now you take like 2 hits and you're like fucking spinning in circles. So like you need like actually someone to dose. If you don't dose it by the gram amount, you can really fuck yourself up. So propofol has to be obviously very carefully administered, like in micro doses.
Well, do you think Jackson had problems sleeping because, I mean, I have problems sleeping too, but do you think maybe the guilt of fucking a lot of young boys was eating away at him?
No, not at all. I think he was just a fucked up dude in physical. I mean, you saw like Prince was on Percocet. I mean, I think these guys who are.
Well, I wouldn't compare the two.
No, but what I'm saying is like these guys who entertain, like Tom Petty was the same way. These guys who actually are on tour, especially like Michael Jackson, the shit he did in concert at like age 50, it just fucking kills your limbs.
Yeah, apparently your hip just gives out at some point.
Yeah, they're like golden retrievers, dude. You can't be like an old horse or an old dog doing the same fucking jumping tricks anymore.
I don't know. I feel like my hip is in good shape. Like one of my biggest fears is having to get a hip replacement.
Yes,
but I don't know. I feel like
my dad had one better than ever.
Is he?
Well, he fractured his hip. He had to get one. But
how old is he?
Oh, like in his 80, like 80. But
And
I mean,
he
got
walks around?
Yeah, no, it took about 6 months, but better. I mean, a metal hip is better than an old bone hip. So like a titanium hip is better than an 80-year-old bone hip. So you're actually better off.
All right. Well, I'm going to start, playing the odds.
But like, Prince would jump off fucking speakers, and Michael Jackson did his fucking gymnastics routine.
Platforms too,
yes.
by the way. And like, yeah, and emaciated, like, or underweight, I should say.
But even Tom Petty was like doing drugs for like, he was late 60s touring. And they're just in a lot of pain. I mean, you're just an old dude like doing shows every night.
Yeah.
It's just hard on your body. I mean, it's not as hard as like having a real job.
Well, dude,
but how many people have real jobs at 67?
Well,
like lifting shit.
I mean, you and I just try standing up for 5 hours straight.
It's hard.
It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it is. And if you're 67, you take pills to make it go away. So I don't know the Michael Jackson fans. So if you read any social media commentary on Michael Jackson, 99% of them say leave Michael alone. Also, by the way, you can't speak ill of the dead, Matt. So there's that rule in place.
I can.
I can't too.
Why can't you do that?
I don't know. Like
what kind of rule? What are we, fucking gypsies? What are you, the fucking Sioux?
I don't
fucking roaming bull. What are you talking about?
Like,
of course we can talk shit about the dead.
Especially a guy.
You know how many dead people have done a lot of fucked up shit?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're not talking dead. I mean, you don't talk bad about the dead who didn't hurt anybody. You don't do that when they're alive. But like, if a guy raped children, I think you're still allowed to talk bad about him after he dies. Like that's not
easily.
It's like, what if he just left for Canada? You're no longer allowed to. Don't speak about the Canadians. Don't speak ill of the Canadians. Like if he crosses a border, is that like can't speak ill of him?
It makes no sense.
No.
I mean, I have a lot of Native American friends, as you know, and I'm kind of
the Inuit people.
No, well, okay, no. So, all right. So there's
that's all I learned in school about
there
Alaska.
are Eskimo people that there's Inupiaq and
yes,
can't remember.
People live in igloos. I know who you're talking about.
And mostly the part of Alaska I came from is Athabascan Indian, so it's a little bit different.
But they all make their houses out of ice. So go on.
No, they get government cheese.
They still kill baby seals though.
Which is fine. I mean,
they make great
and they kill whales. I've actually eaten blubber.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably not very yummy.
No, it's disgusting.
Yeah. Although it will feed you. I mean, it is, if you're starving, if you're hungry enough, I guess it's okay.
Well, I'm like, dude, if you're a white guy, like, if you have a reality show telling fucking Eskimos what to do, I'm like, I'm on the side of these other guys.
Do you think people who grow up in cultures that eat disgusting food just don't mind eating disgusting food?
No, they think it's gross.
Yeah, I think so too.
They know it's gross, but it's a point of pride.
You get used to it, I guess.
No, it's just a ritual.
No, if you were raised as a child eating some gross food, that when you got older, you probably stop eating it, but it wouldn't like gross you out like it would gross other people out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Scandinavian, you put fish eggs on toast and whatnot, but I don't know. That's really not what the Eskimos are. It's not like they can the blubber and like. They're like, oh, man, you know what I really want right now when I'm drunk?
Dude, we're going to watch a game and get some blubber out. Pork fat's delicious, by the way. I love pork fat. On barbecues and stuff like that. Well, it's cooked, I guess. It's not raw. They eat it raw? The blubber raw?
Yes. Or canned. But it has this really disgusting fishy taste.
Yeah. Whales are mammals, Matt. I'll have you know they're smarter than people.
I forgot why we were talking about
Although
this.
The whales are smarter than people when they open up a SeaWorld where it's got people jumping around.
Yeah, this is like, dolphins are probably smart. It's like, Yeah, okay. Well, what if they invented ever? Oh, they swim by a boat. Great. Like a fucking retarded kid would do that too if he was athletic.
They're smart. Let's put it this way: they're smarter than the halibut. Matt, we got an email from Ian about like a topic that's right on the nose for you, which is college rape, campus rape. I like campus rape. That sounds actually better than college rape because it implies like you're in some idyllic setting, just trying to study for finals, and someone rapes you.
Right.
Like it's a real like a campus rape. Sounds like you're in a safe environment on campus, just trying to like play frisbee golf or study, and then all of a sudden you get grabbed and raped.
It kind of gives you the image like someone climbs into your dorm room.
Yes.
Even though it's on the 3rd floor.
Yes. So this new study came out. We talked about this before. So they're talking about this Title IX thing and how the Betsy whatever the fuck her name is, the Trump billionaire. DeVos. Betsy DeVos is trying to change the thing on college campuses where, so currently on college campuses, if you're accused of rape, it's guilty until proven innocent. The college campuses have taken over the sexual assault trials from the criminal courts, and they're allowed to to charge a guy with campus rape and accuse him openly of the rape until he proves himself innocent, basically.
I am by no means a fan of anything that this woman is doing, and she has no business being in this position. And she's disgusting. Yes. However, this does seem like a reasonable thing that she's just saying, like, give due process.
Yes.
And I don't see how that's controversial.
We remember the Obama administration, they came out with like, so it's a crazy number that 25% of girls on campus would be sexually assaulted, which is just an insane number. It didn't make sense to anybody, even with the very most broadest definition of sexual assault, which include like, hey, ladies, show us your tits. I've been assaulted.
Which corresponded with the Rolling Stone article.
Yes,
in Virginia, which was obviously
there was a campus rape mania,
huge problem with that,
right? And I think we all know that. We all probably know there's a few frat guys on campus that do rape women. That almost always it's at some kind of drinking party.
I've never even been involved in that culture. I'm sure that it exists. For sure.
Well, like there's got to be an athlete who gets drunk girls and has sex or whatever. There, the University of Michigan State, they were covered up like. These like three basketball players or football players a couple of years ago, and they had sexually assaulted like 3 or 4 women.
But there's also,
legitimately pulled them into their dorm room and had sex.
Not to negate that whatsoever, but there's also the Duke lacrosse thing where you find that they are targeted. So like we probably talk about a lot of time. It's roughly probably in college cases 10 to 90, right?
In terms of. Fake to real?
False accusations.
So we thought it was, the FBI had the new study said it was 6% were completely false accusations.
But that's not factoring in the college environment.
No, but I'm saying this is on college campus sexual assault cases. They did a review. 6% turned out to be completely falsely accusations, where they just completely made up the accusations for reasons to get back at somebody.
So that's not an insignificant number.
No, but even worse on top of that, is they found that 45% of the accusations never went forward because there was not even enough evidence to go forward with any sort of case.
Well, see, this I meant to talk to you about because, and I don't know, if it's a he said, she said, that doesn't mean that the woman is lying. That just means that there's not enough evidence.
No, but I think in those cases...
Like if you were actually in... So let's say you're in a dorm room. There's 2 people there, man and woman. He sexually assaults the woman. I mean, they can't move forward.
But they would, if they had any additional evidence, they would move forward.
But what would that mean? A rape kit?
There's always additional evidence. Well, rape kit would be one. Any witnesses to what was going on, like even just heard him in the.
Well, no, a guy takes a girl back. He for some reason decides to sexually assault her. You can't move forward.
Have you been to college before? Like college guys are not that. They're not that efficient. I mean, there might be the random psychopath who is that like criminally efficient.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the Ted Bundys of the world.
This always happens at parties.
I lived in the same house as him, by the way. I don't know if I told you that.
Yes, you did. But you're talking about there's a small percentage of actual rapists who are actually cunning and plot their attacks.
Right.
But almost all these sexual assaults on campus happen at parties, in dorm events. Drinking or whatever. There's always other people around. It's never like it's not guys jumping out of bushes and like in ski masks attacking other like college guys attacking other women.
No, of course not.
It's almost always these date rape cases and so forth. So over half of these cases never even proceed to an actual evidentiary, like any sort of trial. And so among that half, I don't know how many are actually convicted after that, but let's say it's half are found guilty, or 2/3 even. That net result is that 2/3 of these rape accusations on campus never find the person guilty.
No,
which is a huge number.
Yeah, and so DeBoss in this, I would like to stipulate.
You're not a DeVos
one
fan?
particular instance.
Then what's with that DeVos tattoo you have, Matt? With an old lady tattoo.
No, you want to be a racist cunt, like whatever. And I don't know if they're if she's pandering to rapists or people like Trump that are just disgusting human beings, or if she just saw some reason in this case. But it does seem like
I think she's just anti university political correctness is basically what she is. So
yeah,
and the Obama thing was like the Obama administration swung the pendulum so far.
Yeah, the Obama that was a problem.
That was a problem. Like I don't think in the Bush era this was an issue. This was an issue. Like it wasn't like I think they found like a middle ground. And then one of Obama's campaign promises was to crack down on this rape culture. So they found an issue which is probably going on since ever they've had co-ed colleges, which is like a girl gets drunk and gets raped at a frat house, which has been going on forever. And they turned that into a hysteria of like a widespread hysteria. And then they changed it. And then they changed the actual Title IX. He actually put out a thing saying the colleges would lose. The Justice Department actually put out a thing saying colleges would lose funding if they didn't crack down on sexual assaults on campus.
Yeah, it was a real political shithead move. And obviously Obama is a better president than we've had in recent years, but that was a real pandering fucking bullshit move that they did.
I think it raised, and then you think about every fucking HuffPo writer was raised in that campus environment. So they were all raised in like this like rape culture was actually they were being raped at an alarming rate on campus.
Well, dude, you listen and there's just certain things like that. Like I don't even know what progressive means, but I'm probably more liberal than most people I know. But when you hear shit like that, it's like, oh, that's why people hate you, because you don't have the capacity for being decent. You're not being honest. You're
no
simply
nuance.
not being honest about it.
There's no nuance whatsoever. You have to like take it. You have to take it so far. Like it's like you have to like say, okay, so yes, there is a issue of people getting drunk and women being like some fucking dude laying on top of them having sex with them. That happens. It's in some number of cases, and you can't just say, well, let's stop that. Just like with the AIDS thing we talked about earlier, pretending that straight people are getting AIDS. You have to like take it to the nth degree.
Yeah, but I don't fucking operate that way, and neither do you, or nor do your kids or our families. I mean,
but it's this whole idea you have to create a hysteria. You have to create a hysteria.
Well, then I'm gonna fucking roll back and be like, why don't you fuck yourself? You know, if that's what you're gonna say, because I actually agree with you in theory, but if you're going to start being dishonest, you're no better than the people on the right, in my opinion.
I concur with that. I mean, this whole campus rape thing is so fucked up. I don't know why people go to college anymore, honestly. It's like colleges looks like such a horror. Just in the last 10 years or so, college looks like a horrible experience.
You're not going to even send your kids to college, are you?
I don't want to. I don't really want to. I mean,
if they really like wanted to study,
there's unfortunately still a stigma of people who don't have college degrees. There's still like, if you look at just fucking jobs, I mean, like 95% of them say you college degree preferred or required for any, job that is reasonably paid. So there's still this like social stigma against.
It was a big deal to my dad in that I graduated from college and I actually did. And my parents paid for it, my dad paid. Both of my parents were together. Anyway, they were really.
You had to graduate.
Well, they cared enough that they paid for the in-state college. I mean, granted, they forged some documents so that I got the in-state tuition.
No, but that's what. But I mean, it was you felt obligated to go to college and graduate because of their interest.
Yes, and it meant a lot to them, and so I'm glad that I did it. But now I'm like,
What a waste.
I don't know why.
It's just, it just doesn't.
$25,000, and some people spend $250,000.
Oh yeah. Well, not only that, but and forget that the people can afford that. Most people are taking huge loans out, and they're saddling themselves with loans for this experience. Which is, by the way, if you're going for like a technical degree or pre-med or computer engineering, probably it all makes a lot of sense. But for these like humanities people and stuff like that,
I was encouraged to get a degree in English. So
yes,
if you want to know anything about the poetry of John Keats,
it doesn't. I mean, it's a nice luxury. It's a nice luxury, but the way campuses are now, are like, especially for a guy, like who would want to? You can't even have fun anymore. Who would want to go to college where like you have to take these classes, you're semi-interested in maybe at most, and then you're among all these virulently angry people who are like chanting and marching, and especially if you're like a white dude, who would want to go to college anymore?
Well, I think my dad is.
The Animal House days are far behind
somewhat
us.
of an older guy.
Yes.
I think he was actually convinced that if you got a degree, it would translate into a job.
Yes.
And I don't know why he didn't know any better, but
well, not in the business you're in, but in most industries, you still have to have a college degree to get a decent job.
Well, bro, I could go to fucking. I mean, name a company. You don't think I could just say?
Oh yes.
You don't think you and I are smarter than your average business school fucking jackass?
Oh, you mean to lie about it?
Yes.
Oh yeah, of course you could. They would never check. But maybe right when you're 22 or 23, they might like right out of that time they might ask for a transcript or something. I don't remember. I'm too old. I don't remember those days.
Well, I can forge that easily. I don't know if you're familiar with the website Fiverr.com.
Yes.
Where
Malaysians go to work.
They're not paying me,
yes.
But you can essentially get any document you want for $5.
Yeah, I know where to get passports down in East LA.
And a press pass. I was standing inbounds during the LA Rams game when they played the.
To get a press pass made like in Suriname or something like that. Everyone in Fiverr, as far as I can tell, is from Southeast Asia.
Oh yeah, no, India too. They don't understand English.
No, but there's not a lot of places in the countries of the world where you'll spend 8 hours of work for $5. There's not a lot of places. Matt, I need to ask you about Johnny Depp. Because Johnny Depp, yeah, you love Depp. I don't know why you've glommed onto the bracelet-wearing, hairband guy who carries magnums of red wine in his hand around in the early morning.
Dude, I have a Magnum at my house. And by the way, he can play guitar. He's not a poser. He can actually play the guitar.
He actually is he's a decent musician, a decent artist, a pretty solid actor, although he's appeared in some of the biggest blockbuster bombs ever. He's always listed every year as the most dramatically overpaid actor.
Yeah. They break it down statistically.
Yes.
If you headline a movie, basically, and he routinely loses money.
Yeah, outside of the Pirates movies, which made a lot of money, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, most of his movies have been underwhelming box office.
But isn't that a testament to how cool he is, probably? Because they probably bring him in and they're like, we could hire Bradley Cooper and Nicolas Cage, but there's something about Depp.
Have you seen his movies, though? They're usually really bad.
No, I haven't.
He's just like an affected...
I've never seen any of the Pirates movies.
Well, no, those were actually... those were fun, action movies.
What was his last good movie?
He met Amber Heard on that movie where he's in Cuba. He's playing, what's his name?
That was a boring movie.
Yes.
That was not good. And I love Hunter S. Thompson, but that was
He's
not...
he always plays like these effete, sort of upscale, like semi-infamous characters. He was actually in the Coke movie. He played in that movie where he was a cocaine trafficker.
That was a good movie.
Which was pretty good.
What was that called? I liked it.
Was it Penelope Cruz?
Yeah.
Speed, Dust, something like that. Something like that. Coke, Blow, Snow.
Blow. There
Blow.
You go.
Yeah. No, he's a good actor.
That was like 20 years ago.
He chooses bad movies. But I'll tell you one thing he did, Matt. He married a cunning lesbian Amber Heard for some reason.
All right, so you and I have been in, well, I wouldn't say disagreement, but I have maintained the entire time that she falsified the attack, because if you looked at the photo that she herself posted onto Instagram, she said he threw a phone at her.
Yes.
And it looked to me like she pressed her iPhone against her face and held it for a while until it turned red. Because if someone... So, like, I have an iPhone right now.
Yes.
This isn't good for a podcast. But if I threw this at you and hit you,
yes,
it would maybe...
Unlikely to make an impression on my face.
It would split your head open.
Yes.
Sort of. Or at the very least...
I have a Jussie Smollett on my cheek.
Like, I'm not shot putting it on. That's just not how physics works.
Yes.
So
Also,
I knew she was lying, and she was trying to frame him, and she did, and she got away with it.
And so he divorced her, gave her $7 million for her.
But you were claiming because he got drunk and punched an extra.
Well, he was. You saw him in the things where he's punching the cabinet drawers and stuff like that, and so he seems like the kind of guy.
I've done that too. By the way, if my girlfriend or, God forbid, wife was trying to taunt me,
yeah,
I would go hard the other way. I wouldn't act like, oh no, I'm not doing anything. I'd be like, oh, you're gonna film me doing this? Like I would literally, like, if I had a gun, I would just start shooting shit. Honestly.
Well, it's kind of I mean, he's kind of like the guy who he's kind of like a woman in the sense that he gets angry, drunk, and throws things or hits inanimate objects.
He was drinking a magnum of wine in the morning.
Yes, and wearing 17 bracelets.
Yeah.
So, including those what do you call them? The knitted bracelets, like the rope bracelets.
Yeah, the Mexican
whatever it is, the friendship bracelets and the other meaningful bracelets. The point is, it was sort of like I could see him like throwing a phone. Seems like something he would do, not to try and hurt her necessarily, but like throwing shit seemed to be his thing. So again, I agree that she probably either went back and like smashed the like your guy, what's his name, Swigum. She went back, Caleb Swigum. McSwiggins. She clearly may have went back and like smashed the phone against her face before she took the photo to make it look worse. But he probably was like throwing shit around her.
Yeah, but I don't know, because
I can see him being a sort of weirdly violent guy.
I don't think.
I bet he's never punched a person in his life.
You will get violent if someone puts it out there.
Yes.
Like you obviously probably have never experienced this because your wife is a very pleasant person from what I've experienced, and she seems great. But I've dated a lot of cunts, and if they rile you up, and you're like, dude, I'm just trying to sit here, like I don't want any part of what you're doing. If they keep pushing it, at a certain point, yeah, you will start throwing shit.
Well, so here's the thing. So he married this woman who was that
was a bad call.
A lesbian with dubious history. You remember she got arrested without a prenup. She got arrested for assault. She assaulted her girlfriend in the Seattle airport.
Red flag.
Yeah. So the fact that she's having a fisticuffs with her lesbian girlfriend in the airport, that to me, not the fact that she's a lesbian, that's also a red flag. But
huge red. By the way, under discussed. Yes. Huge red flag.
Yes, and she suddenly decides she likes men, and she's going to marry a rich, famous guy. A big problem. So here's the thing. So they divorced, and now they had the settlement agreement where they had to say, like, nobody was at fault. We both agreed that we had we're not the best we could be, but nobody did anything wrong to each other.
So he's pissed.
He's pissed, and he had to give her $7 million to that unnamed charity, which she's supposed to give. She's supposed to give.
I actually looked it up the other day.
Yes,
and it was reported on, I don't know, the fucking New York Times or some horseshit thing that. So she donated the $7 million, and I don't believe that that's accurate.
I would like to see the receipts.
I think that she still has the $7 million.
She said she would give it away in like 6 months, and then
well, yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Remember, Depp's attorney said, "We'll just write the check to the charity."
But then she sued him for that.
Yes, so she said no.
So you got to question her motivation at that point.
It's got to go to her. Although I guess if you are the one who gives it, you get the tax write-off, or something like that. So,
I feel like Depp is a good dude who just kind of like, we've all got caught up in
bad relationships,
weird pussy, right?
Yeah, but I think he's had a lot of bad relationships. I think it's him. In the very least, let's say this: he picks the wrong people.
Yeah, he
has very poor taste in who he couples up with.
Maybe he trusts people too much.
Yes, he's a little like most actors. He's very infantile. But now he's suing her for $50 million, Matt, which must make you happy because he claims his legal team claims she defamed him and breached their agreement by basically continuing to refer to him as an assault, a husband who assaulted her. In public communications.
Well, I'm quite sure she conspired against him, and also she started fucking Elon Musk, which makes me want to not invest in Tesla stock ever.
Very odd. That was a kicker for you. You were fully behind Elon until he started having sex with Amber Heard.
No, I'm pretty sure he's a con man.
Yes,
but that was another of the red flags. If I were investing money, I would say let's not give money to the guy that's fucking Amber Heard, who just filed an erroneous rape claim.
Yeah, good for Elon. By the way, way to go out on a limb with Elon Musk by picking up a crazy chick who just, extorted her husband for $7 million.
Yeah.
Like talk about red flags. She got the biggest red flags of all, but I guess he just wanted her so badly he didn't give a shit.
No, he's a fucking moron, and he has no business running a company. If that's your judgment, I understand. Like some people are like, well, geniuses, they're not always reasonable. Yeah, that's true, but he's not a genius. He's just a fucking douchebag.
Although I'll tell you what he had that Johnny Depp doesn't have. I bet he has lots of legal agreements in place.
Probably.
So he's probably not the guy like, I trust you, Amber Heard, with my life. You're the love of my life, you angry lesbian, cunning lesbian. Here, we don't need any legal agreements between us. I'm sure he's surrounded by a legal team who protects him from himself.
I wonder how many times any of them fucked, honestly. It's
Johnny and Amber?
Yeah, I mean, you're all methadoned out. Like, what's your wanger like at that point?
He seemed like he was better off with that Italian model actress, and they only saw each other like 1 month out of the year. They were married for like 12 years. The mother of his kid.
Yeah.
That seemed like a better relationship.
She was hot.
Yeah, that seemed like a better relationship for him. Somebody you don't have to spend much time with, who's vaguely European and is some sort of like model into art. That seemed like a better match for him.
Like I wish I could do impressions and I can't. If I could, I would just love my life. But so who talked? Like, just ask me a hypothetical question. I'll pretend to be Johnny Depp.
How is your relationship with Amber Heard going?
Oh well, I don't know. It's no, it's pretty good. She's a good. It's like what is that? Are you fucking Irish? Are you English? Are you Native American? What are you doing?
I think you've convinced
You're from Louisville.
You convince yourself through the years. I love when, by the way, good actor Christian Bale speaks in public and he's very British and everyone gets really shocked.
Yeah.
Because he's been in so many major American movies doing so many different American accents perfectly that everyone just freaks out when they learn that he speaks British.
I freaked out on Alfred Molina because I rarely listen to Mark Maron's podcast because I find him annoying as fuck.
He's no Terry Gross.
Do not disparage Terry Gross. She's great. So I only know Alfred Molina. I know that he's a really respected actor, but I only know him from the Boogie Nights scene where he's like smoking crack.
Right.
And so I just always assumed he was like from fucking Montana or something. But he was like the most British guy of all time, and it threw me for a loop.
I think half the people in our movies, American movies and television, have just natively British accents.
Yeah.
They all seem to, even like on TV shows where they're playing like New York cops, they're all British.
But why doesn't it go the other way? Like, I have an Irish passport. Am I going to move to England and start, doing a bad? Because it always comes out. So anytime.
Well, there've been a few. I think the impression is, real or not, that Americans can't do British accents well. Like that Americans cannot fake British accents. Can't fake British accents well. Like they sound comical.
Well, no, because we don't watch British TV. They grow up watching our stuff, which is a good product.
Right.
I'm not watching fucking garbage. The King and I or something.
There've been a few cases
watching British Shakespeare productions.
There's been a few cases where like American actors have done the British accent, and they always drop in and drop out of the accent. It's always very alarming.
But so do the British people, man. Like, what was
like Christian Bale's great. I love Christian.
There was a what was it called? There's a crime thriller on Netflix, which is pretty good. I think it was based on the Unabomber, and it was called. We'd have to look it up if we had a producer. I miss Brian, but point being, so it was egregious enough that the actor was playing a guy from Philadelphia, right?
Right.
But he was British, and so part of the central plot of this, I wish we could, just so people knew what I was talking about, is that the guy is from Philadelphia. So it's like a regional distinction, right? So he says water because like people from Philly kind of say water, like they
right. So he trained himself on Philly accents.
Yeah, but he sounded like he was from like the depths of New Zealand or something. Like he was like. And it wouldn't have been a big deal, but the whole point was that he was supposed to be from Philadelphia. And I'm like, why don't you just fucking get a guy from Philly? So he's like, yeah, well, sure, water. And then they said, like, well, who says water? And like, well, he's from Philadelphia. That's like 100 miles from the city of fucking New Jersey or whatever the fucking thing was said in. And I'm like, this is egregiously horrible casting.
Yes.
Because there are plenty of guys that grew up on the East Coast that can act, right? I mean, even Christian Bale, granted, he's probably was incubated somewhere, but he can do an accent. But it's like, if you want to ignore it, if you don't want to make it a big deal, I get that. But for it to be the central point of a plot, and then for it to be a British guy that sounds British who's supposed to be from Philadelphia, I was pissed.
Yeah,
I was really fucking pissed about it.
I feel the same way
Can
every
you
time
Google it. I don't know what the fucking show is.
Every time I watch
angry.
Chris Hemsworth, I feel the same way, trying to hide his Australian accent. He's just not very good at it. He just keeps dropping letters.
Just be from Philadelphia. Like, I don't understand why you can't rewrite a script. So obviously, in the first place, like, so he works for the FBI. So how come he can't just be like, well, let's take 10 minutes and write it. Well, we have this British guy that came in from the British FBI. Like, that's all you got to do.
Right.
That's all you got to do. Like,
I think it's a prestige to doing the accents, like pretending to be from another country or not. There's some sort of acting prestige involved in that, and portraying someone you're radically not.
Well, for sure, and some people are good at it, but I mean, I don't think that makes you a better actor just because you can impersonate an accent. It's like,
no.
All right,
well, if you do it well, perhaps. If you don't do it well,
Christian Bale is great at it.
There's guys, Gary Oldman, other guys like that are actually solid with, like, they can play guys from different countries, and they're
right. And then you hear Gary Oldman talk, and you're like, "Wait, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, me poppies, yeah, man, that goes out."
Matt, I want to end the show today on how idiotic people are in this country. So there's this story this week about, actually, I think it was a month ago, about this teenager from Ohio. His mom had insisted that none of the kids get vaccinated in the family. She was a virulent anti-vaxxer. I think that she was married, but she ran the house, and none of the kids, I think they had 5 kids, now all into the early and late teens, none of them had been vaccinated. And the son, the teenage son, literally ran away from home to get vaccinated. He just,
really?
Yeah. He just didn't want to be, it was like he actually read science, and he discovered that, like, his mom was putting it in incredible jeopardy. And so he, like, literally ran away from home to get vaccinated.
Good for him.
Yeah. And so it became this big news story. And then it turns out the mom is not some, like, religious freak or some weird psychopathic whatever woman. She's just a suburban mom who got all her information from Facebook. She became an anti-vaxxer after joining a Facebook group, a news group on dangers of anti-vaccination, and then decided from that against medical orders that all her children should not be vaccinated.
Yeah, it's frightening. So,
and by the way, she is not alone.
No, she's not alone at all.
It's a huge growing move among other idiotic movements that grow on social media. This one, of course, going to kill people.
Yeah, but all these. So, how many children does she have? Like 18?
They're like 4 or 5.
Oh, great. So I'm 37, which sounds old.
Very old.
It is old. I have 0 children. I've seen you interact with your children, and you seem to be a good parent.
That's my T-shirt says.
How many children do you have? 19, 20?
A lot. More than anybody should in Los Angeles.
So I was looking at fertility rates last night for some reason, and it's actually pretty frightening. The highest fertility rate is it's all Central Africa. These women have,
I mean worldwide, you mean?
Yeah. By country.
Yes.
The highest rates are Zimbabwe, etc. They have roughly 7 children per woman, which I find fucking frightening because there are women that have 0 children. So that means,
well, sort of
to get that average.
Well, to have 0 children, that has to be a choice, essentially.
Or just biologically, you're not capable.
Well, do you think? I think a woman in Zimbabwe or a woman in Montana, if she had lots of sex without protection, would have lots of babies as well.
Well, not 7 per person.
Well, you're also starting at 14.
Well, do you know what the U.S. is? Do you want to guess?
The U.S. is like 2.1 or 1.8, something like that.
Yeah, it's like 1.
But if it's demographically, Caucasian women are like at 1.1, and Hispanic women like at 3, and It's very different based on demographics. But yeah, the average is like 1.8 or 1.9. We're no longer reproducing to our population.
No, and actually Mexico, because of the stereotype, I have sex with a lot of Mexican women.
Yeah, of course.
It's my thing.
El Diablo, they call you.
Not the fat ones hanging outside.
El Chapo. Is it El Chapo or El Diablo? I don't remember.
El Chapo is
like a little guy or something. A little fella.
Güero is white guy. I don't hang out with their families. Anyway, but in Mexico, it's actually only slightly above 2. So
yes.
you gotta figure. I don't understand what these people are doing in India.
I mean, with all the kids. Well,
yeah,
there's a couple things. One is
what the fuck is going on.
One is there's zero birth control. There's zero birth control.
What is birth?
Well, I mean, if the women
come on the forehead,
no, yeah, pulling out coitus interruptus, but they're not doing that. So, firstly, the women in a lot of these cultures are just being raped, essentially, right, by their husbands.
Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, they're not allowed. Men have sex with them whenever they want, and the women can't use any protection. And by the way, they get married like at 13 or 14, so they're fertile for 30 years. And the guy's, basically, coming in them whenever he wants to. So they're going to have, unless they have some sort of biological issue, they're going to have a lot of babies. It's like, did you grow up with Catholic families? I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood.
There was a Catholic family that lived down the street, and I believe she had like 16 children.
Yeah, we grew up in a Catholic block, and like, the first woman was married, had her first kid like at 19 or 20, and her last one like at 42. So, like, they're not allowed to use protection, and they're supposed to create children. So,
So, what is your vagina like at that point?
I think the vagina is bad, but I think also just the whole thing. There's a reason why the Kardashians pay for other people to carry their babies.
Well, some weird guy was explaining to me that the more children this is actually a guy that ran a charity. I should not say the name of the charity at this point, but people have kids because the more kids you have, the more public assistance you can get.
I think it's either that or prestige. You get some prestige out of it, or some sort of social status out of it.
Well, I get that whole macho thing. Like my whole
for the
joke,
guys.
Yeah. I mean, I have a bit, but it's like, why don't you just make a sex tape? Like, so you have 8 kids. That means that you plausibly have fucked 8 times. Like I've fucked thousands of times
and no kids,
and have no kids.
But that's what I'm saying. That's
what's more impressive
between you and Zimbabwe. Well, Eddie Murphy just had his 10th kid. The guy Cromartie on the Jets has 12 kids.
But there's sort of a racial theme here.
Well, but they're all by different women. But I mean, they intentionally are having unprotected sex to have children. They're trying to make babies.
Oh, do you think so?
Oh, absolutely, they are. They're proud. He's really proud of it. I mean,
in terms of like an activism thing.
No, just like
I'm a history professor.
No, just like I'm a macho dude with who makes babies kind of thing.
Well, that's weird.
It is very weird and a very expensive hobby. But I thought what you were going to say is that because there's no vaccinations in Africa, that they have to have 8 kids so that a few survive because the infant mortality rate is so high. So you might have 8 births, but only like 4 living children.
It is high. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty fascinated. I feel like American people in general don't know much about the world.
No.
And I'm curious about it. Granted, I've only been to Canada and Mexico.
That's enough.
And Nebraska and Montana and
That's enough.
New Jersey.
The Zimbabwe's of America.
Alabama, Arkansas. But so I was looking up HIV statistics. I don't know why. And so the World Happiness Scale, there's this country that I can't even remember the goddamn name of it. It only has 6% of people have HIV. So Lesotho and
that's 6% is low?
Well, for Africa.
Oh, for Africa. Okay. I was like, Jesus.
Botswana and Lesotho and actually South Africa, the country. God, I dated a white chick from there for a minute. She was fucking cunt. It's like 30% of people
have HIV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
And it's fucking bizarre.
It's like it's basically like a giant San Francisco bathhouse. Like,
so I don't get why.
Because they're not using, again, they don't use condoms there.
Well, sure. But so let's say I was like growing up in Botswana, right? Like going to grammar school. Hey, Matt. Hey, good to see you. Hey, here's your ABCs. I'm not going to fuck someone without a condom.
Yeah,
In
you
fact,
would.
I may not even fuck anyone with a condom.
Yes, if you grew up there, you would. Remember the guy that...
Well, no, I don't want to get the fucking Miami diarrhea.
Remember that guy? You wrote the story about the guy who gave AIDS, intentionally gave AIDS. Like his job was to give AIDS to people.
Oh,
Was he called the
jackal?
Yes.
Oh, the jackal. That's our dude.
Yeah, he intentionally gave AIDS. His job was as a spiritual healer or something, to give AIDS to people.
Well, that was, I never know if we're sort of conveying sort of casual racism in these instances. I mean, obviously it was a real guy.
I don't think it's I don't think it's the color of his skin. I think it's just the primitive nature of the cultures.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the meth guy that gave AIDS to people. From
No, but it could be
Michigan.
India. It could be India. It could be Botswana. It could be any sort of radically underprivileged backwoods. It could be rural Alabama, for fucking sakes.
Yeah, for sure.
Where the people have just like sort of very primitive idea, where people don't do research before they about their lifestyles or health or medical things, and they have some weird, like, you know, Santeria here in the Southwest U.S., where they have weird ideas about what kills you and what doesn't kill you. Like sort of just
Right.
like odd, just sort of odd idea. Well, look at this. The fucking stories about anti-vaxxers on Facebook who are, Jenny McCarthy started this and like passing around ideas to other moms that you should not give your kids polio vaccinations or measles. You know, this measles thing is really becoming a problem. Is outbreaking in the U.S. again. So all these rich ladies in Santa Barbara who are just like, 22% of the kids in the area are not vaccinated. And now you're creating this like massive future health problem because you're hitting the tipping point and all these diseases are coming back. There's been a number of stories of teachers now who are getting like fucking TB and other things, school teachers. It's insane. I mean, that's Botswana level backwoods.
Yeah, and ironically, it's in fucking Malibu. And
yes,
what's the term? It's not. So it's there's a certain inoculation point,
right?
That the whole population is at risk if and scientists have studied this and found it to be quite accurate over the course of history. I'm not going to pretend to know the science of it, but these people are putting thousands and thousands of kids at risk.
Yes,
and
based off of Facebook information, based off of Facebook posts.
Well,
like it's like this mother did spend a year researching with the CDC or NIH, did some medical research, came to some conclusions about anti-vax, did a deep pharma dive. She's reading Facebook.
I mean, I made a conscious effort. So when I was like in my 20s and going to college, I was like lazy. And so I'd say, well, studies say this. Like I saw a study that said this, and then I realized you have to read the study.
Yes.
If you want to be honest about yourself and have an informed opinion, you have to read the study that you're quoting. And so not only are these people not doing that because the science would be overwhelmingly and unequivocally against their opinion, you're getting it from Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, and other crazy moms on Facebook who are spreading hysterically spreading misinformation that your child is going to be damaged by these vaccinations.
But it's not like Jenny McCarthy is like say she's like a pseudo public intellectual. Like, I don't know what the equivalent would be like, but it's like, all right, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson said don't get vaccinated. It'd be like, all right, well, he's obviously a smart guy, and I guess I would take his opinion above your average person. It's Jenny McCarthy. It's just like a dumb chick with fake tits.
She found some doctor who backed up her
that were proven false, and her kid never had autism either.
Of course they were. I mean, the whole thing is like, this is scary though, because 55% of the people now, or 60% of the people in the country get their news from Facebook. I mean, you could start think of this. If you're growing up now and you're like a 12-year-old kid or whatever, you believe that, say, gender is a choice. Like, you believe all sorts of shit. You believe vaccinations are going to give you disease or filled with mercury or whatever. You have all this stuff that you don't, it's all like social media driven news that is like, even if 95, 98, 90% of scientists disagree with it, the 1% gets out there in this hysterical, like viral, social media viral sensation.
I don't know.
It becomes huge. And all of a sudden you have 10 million people not vaccinating their kids.
I don't know how true that is, though. I mean, obviously you make a compelling case, but you don't just get your information from Facebook, right? Like no one is just on Facebook.
Oh yeah, this mom. I mean, they're reading passed along. It's not like Facebook is creating the news. Facebook doesn't create the news; it's curate it. So moms in the group are passing along studies or articles from obscure places to scare other moms.
Well, that's frightening. I mean, dude, I'm obsessed with like. This might sound weird, but do you ever just watch people, like, kind of watch them walking around?
No. No.
Like you never been in a mall at a food court against your will?
Oh yes. Well, if it's like a freak show, then yes.
Just had to sit there.
Yes. If I was like at the Abbey, let's say in West Hollywood, I would just sit there and watch people.
Well, that too.
But if it was like a real freak show kind of place, I would, yes. But no, I don't go like sit on a bus stop and just watch people walk by.
We're just talking about locations that people go to in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So these aren't
the mall.
necessarily.
Like I go, oh look, a woman shopping at the mall. Like,
well, you realize, well, see, because I've been dating younger chicks, and you realize that. So I'm not a scientist, but I do find genetics to be a fascinating topic.
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe it determines almost everything.
Yeah, and anyone that sort of, I don't know, is thoughtful probably thinks about it. Whatever your thoughts on it are, it does factor into your thoughts, right? And recombinant DNA was just discovered, in the 70s basically, and now we have CRISPR, and it's all very fascinating. But I just look at people that don't appear to know that they're human. Like they're like, I like Chinese food, and like I just kind of look at them like, what are you gonna do after this? Like,
what do you mean? Just how dumb they are, uninformed?
I guess that's what I'm getting at. But I
noticed that
I think I'm dumb too. But at least I find it fascinating, like the way that humans are, But like, if I'm dating a chick, like I was dating this chick. By dating, I mean fuck twice, and she had like these 3 girlfriends, and they were just like, they didn't appear to know that they were like involved in the human experience. They're just like, I like tacos. Yeah, you like?
I do like tacos.
Tacos are good. I don't like the hot salsa. No, that's not very good. What's that restaurant? Like, you're just pointing shit out on the street. I'd like to go there. It's like, okay, well, you're never gonna go there. It's like, I think you're just. I don't understand the surface.
I think you're pointing out the bell curve, Matt.
Is that what it is?
Well, but also here's my general theory on modern.
I might be falling below the bell curve just for rambling about that.
People haven't become dumber. Like just evolutionary speaking, people aren't dumber than they were 100 years ago. It's just not possible that that's happened. So like like we've grown like half an inch. We've whatever has evolved in 100 years. It's very incremental changes. So we're not like 50% dumber than we were as a species 100 years ago. We're the exact same people, essentially. So,
but we have more information, though. That's
everything
my point.
Everything is cultural.
It's like
right?
you could read a book. Like I just read the book of the Indian guy whose name I can't remember that explains DNA. And it's like, dude, we all have DNA. Like, why wouldn't you want to be familiar with that?
I think people used to, and I don't think people even 100 years ago, less people actually were college educated or even fully high school educated. We have more years of education now than ever before. But I think here's what's changed. Here's my belief in what's changed. Why you see dumb people in your mall gazing is that 100 years ago, everybody was super fucking busy. Like there was no free time 100 years ago.
Doing a lot of farming.
You were doing farming. You were working your ass off. You were helping the family business. You were busy trying to live and survive, or you were at war, or you were somewhere else. So now all these people you're talking about have tons of free time. So what we've exposed is that people just aren't very good, don't have a great use of their free time, and aren't very intelligent about it.
Certainly not. Yeah, because it wouldn't be fair to say the dude that stormed the beach at Normandy was like reading weird articles about genetics. Like
no. They had if that person had say 30 hours of free time a week, they'd probably be into stupid shit. They'd be into really dumb shit too.
But don't you like? I'm not even saying like I don't know. I find astronomy fascinating. I like science.
Yes. Like I don't think girls spent 3 hours 100 years ago. There was no mall for girls to spend 6 hours at filling up with conversation.
I'm just saying, ignore all else. Why would you not want to know like about yourself?
I just think, again, I think bell curve. I think people just aren't that. We had a president. Well, we have one now. We had one before Obama who was not very intellectually curious.
You don't think Obama was?
No, before Obama, Bush.
Oh, right.
There's some people that even modestly, fairly successful people who are just not intellectually curious at all, who don't
And
like.
sometimes those guys are cool too. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
Judging it, like I get if it's not an interest, but if I'm going to bring it up, like, hey, what do you think about chromosome? If you're just like, what? Like, I don't get it.
No wonder you're having trouble on Tinder. Are you? Is this a headline of your profile? loves genomics.
It's not working out very well.
If you're not discussing the hard sciences, you're not the wrong person to date me or something like that. Fucking horrible. All right, Matt, that's our show for today. You got something you want to sell, pimp, promote? Are you can be found? Which mall can be found at staring at young ladies?
No, you said that.
Taco with their tacos. I like tacos. I don't want to make fun of people who like tacos. I like tacos. I'll say it all day long.
Well, everyone likes tacos.
A good taco, not the American tacos, like the crunchy tacos. I have to have an authentic Mexican taco.
All right, I got nothing.
I don't want I don't want the Taco Bell taco. I want like one of those real like Mexican thing where like the greasy meat and the onions and the cilantro on top. That's what I want.
I don't care for that.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, they don't clean. I find the places that don't clean their grills make better tasting food. I really do.
Dude, I went to randomly, like, because I was in fucking Indianapolis, and I went to IHOP because I just figured, whatever, I'll get like an $8 omelet. The omelet at IHOP was $17, and so they're like, "Do you want some fruit?" And I'm like, "God, I don't want any of this shit, actually." But I got to eat something. And so they gave me these hash browns. I was like, "Do you have any potatoes?" Yeah. So the hash browns tasted like really fucked up bacon grease.
Oh yeah, they cook. They didn't clean the. Usually the chain restaurants have very little taste because they get inspected all the time. They have a cleanliness, like they have to clean the grills and all that kind of crap.
Not this one.
No, but if you go to like my favorite burrito place, El Michoacan in Los Angeles, actually literally they don't clean the grill. The guy in the back has no gloves or anything like that. He's actually wiping sweat off his brow with the hands he's making your food with.
What's it called? El Michoacan?
Michoacan. Yeah, mispronounced it, I'm sure. And, by the way, there's cats and birds in the kitchen and the eating areas. And
how often do you get diarrhea?
It is often. But you know what? It is so fucking delicious. You just can't replicate that. You couldn't go to, like, Chipotle and replicate that flavor. Of like,
you got to show me, and you probably can't even Postmates it. It's
it's dirty, but it's just like it tastes. There's something about old grills, dirty grease. It's just like the whole thing, and the animal fat, and like I don't know what the cats and birds add to the whole equation. Maybe they're in the burrito, but it's just fucking yummy. It's just old school. There's something about old school food that's so delicious, even if it's kind of gross, that you just can't get at a chain place.
Well, dude, Mexican people. I'm assuming that it's a Mexican.
Yes.
And I don't mean Guatemalan. I mean
no, I think Michoacan is a Mexican name.
They are very passionate about their tacos.
Yes, tacos and the burritos.
There's no other culture. So even like Chinese people, like they love like noodles and dim sum and whatnot, but they also will like have a burger, or like have a fucking a taco or something. Mexican dude, every time, all that guy wants. Fucking taco all day, every day.
With the what's it called? The tapatio sauce, whatever it is.
Yeah, and
the little lady on the bottle.
The minced onions with the cilantro.
And the cilantro. Oh man, I'm so fucking hungry now. This is Lex. Last Murder. Talk to you next week.
Well, I wrote this song for the Christian youth. I want to teach kids the Christian truth. If you want to reach those kids on the street, then you gotta do a rap to a hip-hop beat. So I gave my sermon an urban kick. My rhymes are fly, my beats are sick. My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's 'cause Jesus Christ is my nigga.